Hello.
expire.
What's up?
Those go to their dooms in
Think of it to
flame.
What's up? Hello. I've still got residual makeup on from last night because I did not want to use makeup remover because that sounded like a lot of work. And it's not. It would be more work to leave it on until it naturally comes off, but I decided I was going to go this route. What's up? Hello. Sorry that the time was slightly pushed back. I am still recovering a bit from the Blade trilogy party. It was a good time. It was a good time. But hello. How are you? How are I? I'm pretty good. Let me make sure that everything is working. But I think it is. I think we should be good to go. Except I'm just now realizing I don't think that it opened the playlist. Uh-oh. It should have done that. I don't know why it didn't. Oh, there we go. I know why it didn't. Okay. And we're just gonna click through that. All right. The runtime for this stream is going to be not a number. And that's how you know it's gonna be a good one. Let's see. 73, 74, 75. There we go. The coming storm. Uh-oh, you can hear it in the background. Yeah. Yeah, it was a good time. It was chill. Let's see. That's all pulled up. Welcome. How is the if you are in the Discord, how is it when I am posting the unlisted events ahead of time? If you're in the Discord. If you're not seeing them. But let me know if that is, if you like it or not, or if it's like more confusing since it's, subject to change. What's up, Valkyrie? Hello. How are you? Let's see. And I don't have any manner of takeaway since it's a half ep. I guess I can do like a miniature takeaway. Little one. I do think that Matt there, it's just, based on the stream title, I think it was I noticed it later and I thought about it more of how that was like a very obvious roll initiative moment. And then Matt just was like, no. Matt just didn't have them roll initiative, which is a small little thing, but is definitely like a good example of how to, like, if you as a DM are not prepared for a combat or you don't want to do a combat right then, how to just push past it. And they ended up coming to a not necessarily a peaceful accord, but they are at least not immediately fighting. He gave Percy an opportunity to sort of non-combat resolve that attack. The Blade Trilogy explains the makeup pics. Oh, maybe. I actually don't know if we took a lot of pictures. I'll be honest. I don't quite remember parts. Let's see. I think I took at least one photo before we left. We should have taken another photo, a different photo. What the heck? Okay, wait. I think, yeah. I have one right here. This is, I don't even know if you'll be able to see it. Oh, you can't. I have this dress shirt with like roses on it that is very vampire. And then I wore like a bunch of rings. My eyes were much more, they're very eye zombie. It looks crazy washed out on the phone. That's insane. I looked awesome. Oh man. We were just on like I would say we were on just the top end of effort. But it was good. I was liking it a lot. The posting in the Discord works? Hell yeah. Good. Let's see. Wait, let me pull up the chat because I'm not reading Twitter. Or not Twitter. What am I talking about? Twitch. There we go. I always wonder whether Raishan being illusionary was planned or improv. If I had to hazard a guess, I would say improv. I would say it was a little bit of quick thinking on Matt's part because I'm not going to say that he wouldn't have done a combat there. I don't think that at all. But I think in the literal moment, he was not prepared to do a combat. I think he was like, he kind of was like, let's go to a break. which is perfect, you know. That's absolutely perfect. You don't know exactly how to respond to your players, take a pee break. I have been known to employ this strategy many times. The pee break is your best tool for stalling. What's up, Mr. Know-It-All? What watching over the last week, catching up on 28. Love your stuff. Thank you very much. Episode 28. Is that Briarwoods yet? It must be. I think Vasselheim. I think that's like middle. What is 27 is the Sun Tree, I think. Am I totally misremembering my timeline? It's so hard to remember that far back. Holy shit. They didn't go to Vasselheim until episode 16. Oh my god, the Underdark was so much longer than I pictured it in my head. Okay, so, 28's the Sun Tree. Oh wow, I was actually pretty on. That's crazy. That's a good one. That's the Briarwood, I think, is like, I started liking Critical Role in the Underdark, but the Briarwood arc was where I really got it. Like in the Underdark, I was like, okay, I can see the pieces of what this will become. But I'm definitely not to the point where I can like understand the whole like worldwide sensation of Critical Role. But then by the Briarwood, I started to get it. I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. Let's see. I need to rebalance a skosh. There we go. There we go. Washed out and pale is fitting for the vampire look. Yeah, it was. I had very little makeup to work with because I don't have any makeup, and Paige doesn't do a lot of makeup. Like, she doesn't do a lot of her own makeup. I say her own, like someone else does it for her. She just doesn't wear a lot of makeup. So we did not have a lot to work with. I'm tempted to agree. However, the only potential argument against I can think of is that he was very careful not to have Raishan sit down. That is true. As in, like, because she wouldn't be able to interact with the chair. I think it's very possible. And it totally works. And it also might be something that Matt had in the back of his head, maybe in every scene where we don't necessarily like see Raishan. It's very possible that Raishan is constantly putting up an illusory duplicate, and that's just like been how Matt has been running things. That's very possible. I do think in general, the not going straight into initiative was probably improv. Like that decision. Because I think normally that sort of action goes straight into initiative for Vox Machina at the Critical Role table. I think that normally goes into initiative, but this one, Matt was like, I'm not prepared. Let's give me a second. 28 is the Sun Tree. 27 is the infamous run. Wraiths attack prisoners, then all the shopping. Oh yeah. Yeah. Where Percy fights off the wraiths in Grayskull, like mano y mano. That's right. I remember that. Oh man. Good times, good times. How did Raishan know where the table was to be able to walk around it? How did she see the people in the room if she wasn't there? Answer hand wave magic. Yeah, I mean, we could easily hand wave it as though she can perceive through her illusory duplicate. Like that's not that crazy. I think actually the trickster cleric feature might be similar to that. Trickster cleric 5e. I don't remember if the trickster's illusory duplicate or invoke duplicity, if they can perceive through the duplicate senses. You can cast spells as if you were in the illusion's place, but must use your own senses. So actually, very explicitly, you have to use your own. But we can come up with some sort of dragon magic where it's some sort of combination of invoke duplicity and like warlock gaze of two minds. You know, we can get there in our heads. Dragon astral protection, sure, why not? Fuck it, it's. It's soft dragon magic. Especially, I mean, I think there's a very good chance that Matt could have come up with that ahead of time. He certainly has come up with soft magic ahead of time before. So it's super duper possible that he just has a feature for Raishan that is like, yeah, it's like invoke duplicity, except she can perceive through the senses. I could believe it. Yeah. Wizard spell project image can do most of this. It's close enough that soft dragon magic is fine. Yeah, basically. Like, I think that's kind of the thing is, yeah, for dragon soft magic, you can tweak existing things that are so close to like kind of get it there. And even if it wasn't pre-planned, even if it was all in the moment, Matt is staying within the realm of reasonable illusions. Like, we have illusions that are so close to this that, and 5e explicitly says that all of the spells that you are aware of that are like in the books are not all of the spells that exist. It's just the ones that are like commonly known. So 5e itself leaves some room for creating things kind of on the spot, little tweaks here and there. Yeah. Look and talk as if you were really there and be able to pass a check. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, I think it's even there might be just a straight up spell that does accomplish what was going on there. And even if there isn't, there's enough ambiguity there to where we can get there. Anyways, we are in. Wait, where is it? Yeah. Okay, time codes. So yeah, we are going to be timestamp for after the break is that. So let's see. Oh, I want to see if this works because I don't know if it will. Let's see. Hey, it did it. No, it didn't. Fuck. No. What happened? I don't know what happened. It tried there for a second. Oh, it went too fast. I know exactly what happened. Wait, we're going to try one more time. I need to add in a bigger delay, I guess. Let's see. Let's try this. Come on. Hey, there we go. It's perfect. The code works every time. The code works every time. Never in doubt. Also, I totally forgot that this was the Halloween episode. I definitely forgot. So I got jump scared a second time with
last left
with Matt's delightful visage, we'll say. All right. Let's get it going. I think it's going to be a smaller crop of people today. I mean, because I think that a lot of these, it seems like at least, there was like a lot of people wanted to be here for like the end of the 60s, like early, like 70 and 71. It seems like the mid 70s are going to be a smaller crop of people with us. But that just means that I can more directly talk to y'all. So anyways, let's do it.
Top, Cloroto over here, which let us all marvel at the action.
Oh, Clarota!
Me all along.
Oh God! Are you gonna leave that on the whole?
Oh hell no! I can't
Okay,
see
good.
or hear a thing. This is all coming.
That looks very hot as well. I've never. I'm trying to think if I've ever worn like a. It's not even like a prosthetic. It's just a mask. But I've never worn a mask or a prosthetic for a long period of time like that. I can't imagine. And I'm sitting here trying to imagine like performing in one. Like I can imagine, the big the face paint, but it's like I would never. Yeah. I could not play D&D in a big prosthetic. I've always wanted to like dress up for D&D more. But it always like I don't know. I don't have like a big costume collection or closet where I could store everything. Ryan's really trying to get me into physical stuff. He's right. We were talking on his stream the other day, and he was like, just come to Indiana. Come to Indiana. We'll do some mini painting. It'll be great. We'll do some physical props for your background. And I was like, ooh. And I was like, oh, but they're expensive. I told my chat they're expensive. And he's like, they're not expensive. And I was like, how much are they? And he gave me a number that wasn't very expensive. I was like, no, shit. Don't tell my chat that. That was the excuse that I used because otherwise I'll have to get into it so much. And that's going to be so much work. And I'm going to be so bad at it in the beginning. Learning a new skill is hard.
Oh, it's so short-lived.
3 seconds of costume, that's all you got.
You can't put this
No, it's just
Just the helmet. Just the helmet.
Yeah, come on. Wear the
Yeah,
helmet.
the friggin' helmet. I had my arm behind my back for 2 hours. Commitment.
I have so many guns in my belt, no one can even see them, and I'm still committed.
I painted my entire body.
Yes,
So.
yes.
What is wrong with you people?
That's good.
He is
You're good
naked
now.
under that table.
I mean, like, I can't really claim sanity. I just did something mind-bendingly
You
stupid.
now look like one of your own bullets.
There you go.
You have a very Merlin from Excalibur thing going on right now.
Dream to stop. A nightmare to others. Oh, like lightning, yes.
Need more green lights
Love
in
that
here
movie.
to really get the effect.
Go see Excalibur. Not right now. Not right now, but like tomorrow.
All right, so bringing it back in.
Wow.
So, as your blade swings through and
Which is your favorite cosplay? I think I said it in the first step. I think I am sticking to it of me having to give it to Sam just for the commitment. But then it's probably Travis. I don't know. I put them on they're tied. This is what I wish I could have looked like last night. But I would have needed much more like highlight or like pale foundation. Like I would have needed to go and get a Ben 9 kit. But this is what the fucking shit that I was going for last night. I looked much more, my makeup looked more like this. Not to say that hers is bad in any way. But it was much, much closer to this. And then Matt's is also great. Anytime I see a bald cap, I think about how much work that shit is to put on. And maybe it's because I've always had just like very thick, voluminous hair. But even when my hair was short, bald caps were so annoying to like put and keep on. They never like stayed or looked good on me. So I'm always impressed when I see a good one, especially from someone who has pretty long hair.
passes through the form of Secret Sum, it shimmers and then darts backward into the corner of the room.
I immediately sheath and do the no more tricks. If we're going to do this, we need everybody to know what's on the table.
At which point, everyone who stood up and kind of held up the chaos, I see all the faces going off in realization. Assume goes from a defensive position and then stands up again, crosses the arms.
It's also very one of the other benefits, I think, to delaying it like this, like to going to fucking commercial break right after this, is that theoretically, I'm not even saying that this necessarily happened, but if you're at your own table, theoretically, Matt could have pulled Taliesin aside and been like, yo, what are you trying to do right now? Like, are you actually trying to start a fight? Because if you are, I want to honor that. But if you're just trying to like reveal Assume's identity and like, you know, basically force out Raishan like out of hiding, then I can honor that. Like going to break allows you not only time to think as the DM, but also time to maybe have a quick one-on-one with with Taliesin and just understand what he's trying to go for, which you can obviously do at the table. Like you can have that sort of conversation over the table if you want, but it's even easier during a break. Yeah, good for check-in. Also good dramatic time. Also good dramatic timing. I mean, if there's one thing I've ever said about Matt, like my number one, I think like Matt skill that I would identify is his dramatic timing. It feels like he has just really, really good instincts for that sort of thing. But yeah, it has other benefits as well. Yeah, it's good. Good. And I will also say he's not to put it all compliments on Matt. His players have good dramatic timing as well. Of like Taliesin didn't just, you know, fully push it down mid with that. He wasn't just like, no, we need to like go into initiative, like let's roll. I'm gonna keep attacking. Like when he said, I stabbed Raishan 3 times in the back. And then the moment that Matt didn't have them roll initiative, Taliesin throws out the one-liner, you know? Which really gives Matt a lot of room to play with in terms of dramatic timing and in terms of like where he wants to take things. Matt could have heard the one-liner from Taliesin of like, no more games, whatever. And gone into initiative, or he can do all of this other stuff, which is the path that Matt is going down. So not only do I think Matt has good dramatic timing, but his players give him a lot of opportunity for very flexible storytelling, I guess would be the word. Yeah, his players give him a lot of flexibility on when and how to do things. Yeah, it's not Matt, but Victor's a surprisingly good DM. Yeah, that's so true. You know, I can see it. You need that kind of wacky star of the show energy to DM. I can see it for Victor.
We're either going to win or we're not.
Correct.
I was hoping you were going to take care of that.
We're working on that plan as we speak. But pardon me if I take a few, how do you say, careful backups in case one would take a blade and stab at an ally, supposedly.
You know damn well that we're not allies. You know damn well that this is a tenuous relationship, and you know that neither of us trust the other.
At which point, Allura puts her hand down and goes, I'm sorry. What the hell is going on here?
We'll get there.
There's no time, Allura.
I would hope that you wouldn't trust us. And I would hope that you would understand that we don't trust you. But we need to make a real plan now.
As the tension still resides, Gilmore kind of puts his finger up. Pardon my momentary ignorance. Would you like me to cleanse the room?
I'm just hoping for a conversation to start that I promised I wouldn't start myself. And I'm trying to keep to the letter of my word.
It might help if Gilmore were to make sure everyone is on the up and up in this room.
Seeker Assume, do you have an opinion on how you would like to proceed?
Seeker Assume takes a few steps towards you, just casually, looks up to you, and kind of goes to pat you on the shoulder, his illusory hand passing through your form. I'm quite comfortable where I am right now. Let us continue this conversation.
Oh, he's not even here. He's not even here.
The floor is yours if you wish to tell everyone what the real plan is.
Very well. Since my hand has been forced. Hello. Seeker Assume is still back in the mall, dealing with the difficulty of preparing the current circumstance.
Hey, I talked about it, how one of the things, I'm not like a huge a Feywild guy, but I do really like the contract. I'm not a Feywild person, but I am a Devil Deal person. And so I love the like not pushing the letter of the deal type of shit. Obviously, or not, maybe not obviously, but Raishan is a dragon, so I don't think she has the soft magic enforcing a devil contract sort of magic to her. But I think that there is an amount of due caution to take when making deals with incredibly powerful entities, with beings of power, even if that being of power has been weakened by a curse. Maybe especially then. Still slightly quiet to me, but may I need to turn up my audio slightly? I can turn it up even more. I'll turn up CR to the max, and we'll see how that works. It seems like project image 7th level lasts all day with concentration. Oh, there you go. I don't know a lot of high level project image 5e. I don't know a ton of the higher level wizard spells, especially. And it's a bard spell. That makes sense. Yeah, what am I talking about? A small replica of you made from materials worth at least 5 GP. Dude. Me and Ryan were talking about this, how we just ignore, because like theoretically I believe that this should be required even with a focus because it has a GP cost. I could be wrong. It might be that it only matters if it has a GP cost if it also gets consumed. As described in the spellcasting session, blah, 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 blah. Materials. If a spell states that a material component is consumed, they must provide it. Okay, well, never mind. But even so, like, let's imagine that that almost makes this even sillier. It's I ignored the ingredients for the spell. It's like if they are not substantial, I kind of ignore them regardless. By the time that you are a 7th, or you are capable of casting a 7th level spell, why? Why are we even doing this? You know what I'm saying? I would love it if there was a class or even a subclass that like really cared about material components. That'd be awesome. If there was like a witch type spellcaster, that'd be cool. But they're just so nothing. They're just so nothing. Like even something like Gate, I believe. Gate's the one that comes to mind when it's like, oh yeah, that costs a lot. I think they even ignored it in CR. Because a diamond worth at least 5,000 GP. By the time you can cast 9th level spells, again, it's like, kinda who cares? They're so rich. I do like sometimes restricting certain materials. So like in my games, I might ignore that it costs 5,000 GP, but I might just say you need a diamond. Like you need a certain kind of diamond. And like diamonds are hard to come by in this setting. But I would almost exclusively relate it to the material, not to the gold cost. I don't know if this rant is making a lot of sense. I feel like I'm stringing unrelated thoughts together. But yeah, for 6th level contingency, I did the roleplay to make a small statuette for like 50 GP. If you want to, absolutely. Like I think it's maybe like my most generous read of it is that it is opportunities for roleplay, but I think that largely it can be ignored. Like material costs in general. Again, unless you are introducing something that is like a specific solution. So I actually think in this case, like Gate was presented to them like with a spell scroll. It's not like they had gate. And I think a lot of spells could serve that sort of function, especially if they're homebrew, where it's like you present them as a spell scroll or as a, they're locked inside of a ring of spell storing or something. And they require a very specific material. So the material essentially becomes like a MacGuffin that allows you to cast this like solution spell. Say that they had a problem that, like in their case, right? Gate did solve a problem for them. It theoretically helped with the Vorugal fight. I have my own thoughts on that. But the gate spell could also be a much more direct solution to like a more like direct problem. Like if they need to find someone on a different plane, like if they were just wanting to kill Yank if Vorugal wasn't even involved, this is a very direct solution to that. And these sorts of direct solutions, I think I'm cool with like a special material being required for that sort of thing. But I so don't care about the gold cost. The gold, like every time a gold cost gets involved, unless it's on like a resurrection spell, I almost always find that it's like a pittance compared to what most parties have at that level, you know? So it always just, I don't know, it's a little silly to me, always. Gate was covered by a scroll, which helps, but I'm pretty sure Magnificent Mansion is the one that always gets ignored. Yeah, which like, I would find pretty fine with. Do you need the component if you have the spell scroll? I think you do, actually. Now that you say that, well, now that you say that, I would have to look it up. I think you do still. I believe that the spell scroll just gives you the ability to cast a spell that you don't otherwise know. I don't think it covers the material component, but I could be very wrong. I have not, the only time that I've had my party not just sell spell scrolls was when we had a wizard. And they just copied the spell into their book. They did not cast it from the scroll. Which is honestly a little bit of a probably some missed opportunities on my part. Spell scrolls are cool. And I think that like the gate spell scroll in this case was a really good example of how you can really use spell scrolls really well in D&D. Like they can give the party temporary access to magic. Like that's not something that, I don't want to say that's not something that's common, but it's so flexible. Like magic in D&D is already so flexible that giving your party, like I said, essentially temporary access to magic, that can be used in a lot of really fun ways, especially if you are a little bit fast and loose with the materials. Maybe you, require some weird ones. That can be an arc in and of itself just to acquire the material components to cast the spell. You know what I'm saying? You could do something that they require a rare diamond only found on the elemental plane of Earth. Precisely. Yeah. Work in the Ashari to that. Yeah, it's like it's a diamond that can't form on the material plane, and so they have to go on like a side quest to acquire it. Absolutely. That could be so much fun. Yeah. My GMs usually say to knock off the gold cost and don't worry about it. Yeah. I think that's probably the most common. I don't even worry about the gold cost personally, but I think it's fair too if you want. But yeah. I don't know. Material components are weird because they are something that I could be super interested in. I love like ritual magic. And like magic that like I love the like aesthetics of a witch, of like needing an eye of newt and a giant's left pinky toe, and I love that sort of shit, but it's not really baked into D&D, at least in that way, where you need like, multiple components of like a recipe or a formula. Recipe casting maybe is maybe a good way to phrase it. Material components feel like they're trying to go for like recipe casting, but they don't. I don't know. I don't think they go far enough. I think Somatic and Verbal have very practical reasons why they're in there, and I think it's super fair. I definitely think that more GMs should honor verbal and like somatic components, like those requirements. Like I'm fully on board with like that is part of the balancing of Magic. That is why it is not as powerful as it appears at some tables. Is because a lot of tables unfortunately ignore somatic and verbal, which makes like a lot of magical spells much more powerful than they otherwise should be. But materials, I don't know. I feel like they're a little underbaked. Speaking of recipe casting. Yeah. I roleplayed getting the tuning rod for plane shift, also for my wizard. If I felt like a tuning fork for another plane of existence, couldn't hand wave it. Yeah, I agree. I think that is, again, like either going on a quest for the tuning fork or having to do a soft magic ritual to tune a fork for plane shift. That sounds so cool to me. Like that's the sort of shit that gets me really excited. I really like that. And I really feel like there's an amount of missed opportunity there with a lot of and to an extent, it is there if you look for it, right? Like plane shift sort of has that built in, but the DM needs to take it like that extra mile, and there's not a lot of like direct support on how to do so. I feel like if the system was a little bit more buffed out, maybe that would be there, but I think D&D doesn't necessarily want to be that rules heavy, like to accomplish all this material stuff that I'm talking about. I feel like D&D doesn't necessarily want to be that rules heavy or that crunchy, so I feel like they should just kind of take out material components or make them all purely like the tuning fork, like something specific, like a diamond from the elemental plane of earth or something. Yeah. Especially when it's outside the realms of the party's main focus or levels. Yeah. The spell scrolls, absolutely. Like I said, I think honestly missed opportunity at a lot of my tables. I feel like I could work in a lot more of those. Yeah. I love witchy aesthetics too, but it doesn't work for much 4-5e. Yeah, especially because like I like the witchy aesthetics when it comes to making like magic items. Like I have done a lot of like soft magic sort of ritual stuff for crafting magic items and like requiring certain components and formula. But for in-class resources, it doesn't necessarily work as well because D&D is all built around regaining all of your class resources every long rest. It's the same reason that like allomancy wouldn't really work in 5e. Like it just kind of doesn't make sense, unfortunately. I think on resources, rare exploration high campaign would be on theme to worry about the nitty-gritty of spell components. Yeah. For certain tables and for certain themes, it's definitely on brand. Yeah. Ignoring somatic and verbal is wild. It is a common thing that I've seen. I used to do it when I started, and like most tables that I played at or that I ran for, if I tried to like force verbal or somatics early on, players were really not into it. It felt too like restricting to them. But I especially, you know, more recent DMing, I very much require them. Just fuck sorcerers, I guess. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You can make silencers and other things out of the materials you pick up. I love the Monster Manual had an optional chapter about beast parts. Could be made into magical items, potions, etc. I would love that too. I would love a Monster Manual that wasn't so focused on combat stat blocks. Like, I get it. I'm totally down with the Monster Manual being combat stat blocks. I get it. But it's also like, that is one of my primary evidence points when people have said that D&D is not a combat-focused system. Like, oh, it also has like role play. like the fact that the monster manual is considered a core rulebook and it is almost entirely stat blocks for combat. It I don't know, doesn't vibe with me. I'd really like if there was more like exploration focused tables of like, this is what their habitats look like, and these are what, like if you do kill them, this is maybe what you can do with their bodies, and things like that. Yeah, that would be very cool. And to be fair, I haven't looked at the 2024 monster manual yet, so maybe they, went that direction. I will say I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt it. But if you've been silenced, you should not be able to do verbals. Likewise for somatic, if you've been paralyzed. I will say, like, I wouldn't say that I require role playing them, but I very much keep them in mind. Most of the time, it's for like enchantment stuff where it really matters. Like enchantment stuff or things that like you wouldn't necessarily want people to see you casting a spell. Like there are a lot of like charm person-esque spells that have verbal and somatic components, and it's like, oh yeah, like people around you would absolutely see you charming this person. Unless you are a subtle spell, like you're using subtle spells as a sorcerer. And like I will, if someone wants to be like, can I stealthily cast the spell? I'll require a check for it, but I'll be like, you can only probably like sneakily do one of the two things at a time, unless you want to do two checks, and if you fail either of them, it's going to be very visible. Which is essentially giving disadvantage to the roll. So yeah, I don't know. It's that's the part that I see most often. Yeah, if you're silenced or paralyzed, I think that's relatively normal, or not normal, but I think that gets accounted for more often. But it's a lot of times when people just wouldn't want to be seen casting spells. Would you rule that it's harder to hide casting higher level spells? Not necessarily. I think it would be probably pretty similar. Although, what I would say is, I think the way I would rule it, actually, now that you say that, that's an interesting question and thought experiment. I would rule that it is always the most difficult to hide the highest level of spell you can cast. And every like spell level below your highest possible spell level gets progressively easier. I think you could even do it like by 2DC. Like I'd probably, if someone asked me like, can I hide like the somatic part of my casting? It's probably like a DC 15. DC 15, Arcana, or Sleight of Hand check, whichever's higher, is probably what I'd say. And then it's like for so say you can cast 3rd level spells. If you try to cast a 1st level spell and want to hide it, I'd probably knock off 1 actually. I'd probably say DC 13 in my head. Yeah. I always imagine casting something like Wish takes more flourish and stuff compared to Ice Knife. That's fair. It's fair. But I think to be totally honest, if I'm like really trying to self-evaluate, I think I wouldn't want to rely on my in the moment intuition for that. I think I would want to tie it to something like relative spell level, because that's something that I can much more easily fall back on in terms of like difficulty. So I think if you're capable of casting Wish, that is the same level of difficulty as a novice, a level 1 adventurer trying to hide casting Ice Knife. It's like as your skill in the magic grows, the more simple spells become easier to kind of be to hide and be subtle about, especially as your experience in casting like level 1 spells grows. I think you would become more and more accustomed to the movements and to the process to the point where you might be able to like focus more on hiding them. That's the way that I would justify it in my head. If my players had a problem with that, I could see alternate stuff, but that's probably the way I would go with it in my head. Yeah. Ice Dive produces literal ice shards, though. Charm person less. So yeah, well, it's more or less relevant for for certain spells. Yeah, for Ice Knife, this is not as relevant. Although I could see you possibly wanting to hide the fact that you're casting Ice Knife. Like if you want to make a section of the floor very slippery, you might want to do a stealth Ice Knife. I could see it. Yeah, and again, I feel like a level 1 wizard is going to be much worse at hiding their casting of an Ice Knife than, say, like a level 15 wizard. You know, I think the level 15 wizard, they're so used to casting those lower level shit that they are more capable of like of hiding the somatic part of it as their power has grown. Yeah. Sensitivity to Arcana of the... Yeah, I would also probably make this a contested check. My players don't do it very often, but it would also depend on the observers. Like if there was like a named observer that even I had like a stat block for, that's probably a contested check. If we're just around like a mob of NPCs that don't have any stat blocks, then it's just going to be like a mental DC in my head. But you can easily, you know, transport that over into a contested check and then give a modifier for like a rider for the relative spell level. So yeah, if they're like a level 15 wizard, what is that, like 7th level spells? I think. And they try to hide a 1st level spell, you either give them like a +6 or the enemy that is rolling the contested check like a -6 to their perception. Something along those lines, probably. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't happen often, and when it has happened, I have just fallen back on like DC 15. But it doesn't happen often at my tables, so I can't say I can't say with confidence that this is exactly how it would play out if I actually did it. Good thing I'm not GM for you then, because I'd be like, you cast it successfully and then the ice immediately hits the floor and breaks. It will be a puddle in about 5 minutes. Now roll to see if they heard. I mean, I would be fine with that. I'd be totally fine with that. This is one of those things that I think a DM needs to decide how they're going to handle it. But I don't really think that there's a super wrong way to handle it. It's all just like tonal stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think it's really like how powerful do you want spellcasters to feel? Like how high magic is it? Yeah. I'm very much thinking about this in the context of my own like tones of my campaigns. And yeah. Also in the moment, I don't even know if I would do that. I would have to get pressed in the moment for it to really know what I was going to do.
Discussing. I am Raishan, member of the Conclave, and up until recently, tenuous ally with Thordacus and the King, who is now considered a mutual thorn in all of our sides. So, I've made an agreement with your Vox Machina for quite some time. And together, using our combined strengths, we slew Voragol, the Frigid Doom, over in Wildmount. We've returned to reconvene. I provided nothing but honest, upfront, and necessarily vital information to your victory. So,
I will confirm everything but the quite some time to the room.
I was just writing it down. Me and Taliesin are on the same wave. I love that Raishan threw in, I've been working with Vox for quite some time. That's perfect. That's like a small little deception that really changes the tone of a lot of this. Yeah.
I've just been staring at Allura.
Allura this whole time is you see her fingers like twitching, her arms tense, and there's just this very, very faint air that's like blowing her hair just ever so slightly where there's no wind in the air. She's on edge right now and is just looking to you guys for guidance, like, are we doing this? Cassandra, who stood up immediately, is, for the first time in a long time since White Stone reclaimed, Cassandra now resembles more her age than she ever did. She has a look of her face like she's far out of her depth. And understanding the circumstance, there's legitimate fear in her face, and she's kind of looking at Percival with that look of, what have you done?
Now we can have a real conversation about what's going on. We have an ally on the inside, albeit an untrustworthy one, you'll pardon that, but there's every possibility that this is an elaborate trap, and I respect your intelligence far too much to try and pretend to try and pretend otherwise. You understand certainly what I mean. Having this on the table, we now know that there's every possibility that the Red Dragon knows everything. There's every possibility that we're walking into a trap, or there's every possibility that we have an insatiably powerful ally. It is a terrible risk.
Or an insatiably powerful enemy.
Also,
still a terrible risk.
Terrible risk.
Either
but
way,
it is what we have.
we can now ask about the ritual.
So, why don't you inform the room on how you utilized an entire race of people to break the ritual?
Everyone's still standing at this point, kind of looking. Cassandra slowly sits down, but is still kind of looking between Raishan and Percival. You watch as Assume's form steps towards the center of the room, the flash of green kind of flaring in the eyes with a smile. So, the anchor that you speak of was indeed removed from the fire elemental plane. We discovered that it was indestructible, so good on you, Allura. Well created. We tried many different ways of rending it, crushing it, sending it elsewhere without the enchantment, tearing Thordak with it. To no avail. So, I am trying to find a way to bring Thordak through. We need to bring the soul anchor and the fire elemental plane with it. The one place where such research could be gathered promptly, fully, was the pirate. Now, mind you, it was not my intent for such destruction to rain upon them, but I spent many years with them. I got to know them. They were fine people. And in that time, I learned the ways of temporal travel between the dimensions, the details that allowed me to see the fabric of the fire plane, to where we could encase a bit of it within the soul anchor itself. This
Temporal travel? I feel like Matt might have misspoke there. Temporal travel? Is that really what we mean? They're fine people, and that's time I learned the ways of temporal travel between dimensions. That sounds like a misspeak. I feel like it's probably dimensional is what he means. If it's not a misspeak, that's a huge detail. That's an insanely massive detail that fucking Raishan unlocked chronomancy really quick. Yeah. Odd choice of word. I think temporal is a mistake. Yeah. It's either a mistake, which I could totally understand. It's probably just dimensional travel or spatial travel or something. Yeah. But if it's temporal travel and Raishan is just dropping that she invented chronomancy to accomplish this, that's a big lore drop right there.
Once we had managed to crack that essence, I was able to, from a distance, using the allies on the other end, Thordak had found friendship with some of the ousted fire giants. They found comfort outside of the Ordning and under the shadow of the fire dragon. In using their deep, rich-blooded past in forging and making, they were able to convert the soul anchor into something that housed the essence of the fire plane. However, we didn't have a means of creating a hole large enough to bring both through without destroying both in the process. And as such, we waited. Waited for the right time. The Winter's Crest.
You bitch.
To some, maybe. But we called this the Ember Seed. The Ember Seed that resides in the center of this Heartstone. That is what is causing Thordak to swell. That is what is driving him mad. That is what is drawing the very land around Iman to a fiery eruption. It is also what keeps his soul on this plane.
What keeps his soul on this plane?
What keeps his soul intact with his body.
Destroy the stone.
If it can be destroyed.
In theory. But we've tried, believe me, we've tried.
And you just kept the soul or the stone inside of him?
And to remove it, we destroy him as well. As the Arcana Philosophical saw fit. So yes, both came through. Waited for the Winter's Crest, had enough power and understanding of the ritual to open the entirety of the tear, and Thordak screamed through flames in his wake. And he laid waste to your people, not I.
No. You used me. You used us. And my fear that I had originally appears to be true. A lot of this is my fault. I'm willing to accept my onus. The fact that you can't shows all the kind of person that you are. My promise still stands. I'm thinking it might come sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of with you, Sarah. I don't know entirely how much of her fault it is. I think she is implying that her touching the siphon is what gave it the power. Yeah, I mean, this happened on Winter's Crest. They were in Whitestone. So maybe she's blaming herself for not sussing out Raishan while she was there. What siphon? The siphon below Whitestone. But that was also before Winter's Crest. I don't know. I don't know entirely why she thinks it's her fault. Maybe they'll explain it. But I am also lost on why Keyleth believes this to be for her to have like any amount of onus. Even the description Raishan gave doesn't remotely match the Pyra Aramente trial from what I've heard. No. I mean, it's at the Pyra. Maybe, okay, there might be some line dropped that I don't remember during the Aramente where possibly they have to like widen the rift in order for the Aramente to take place. Because I know that the rift just exists in the Pyra. Like, there just is a rift to the elemental plane of fire in the Pyra. That's it. But maybe they had to widen it, and it like would take time to heal. But that's not even what Raishan is implying. Raishan is implying that like just the fact that it was the Winter's Crest and the division between the planes is weaker. That's why they were able to open it. She didn't say anything about the Aramente. So yeah, I don't know why Keyleth is taking like any amount of onus on this. Maybe there's something mentioned that I just forgot, but yeah, I don't know.
You do understand that without my aid, you will not succeed.
I understand that without your aid, none of this would have fucking happened in the first place.
Yes, and there are quite a few in this room that fall in that category. She looks to Allura and Drake.
So it seems all of us can accept our part in this matter, except for you.
Oh, I accept my part in this matter as well. You don't think I feel duped by this? You don't think I have many things I wish to tear from the very corpse of that entity? You think I don't want to see him burn as much as you do, this vengeance that burns within me?
And then what would you do if you actually got what you want?
What all of us want. Freedom.
I pull out the staff, the Spire of Conflux. You know, there are always many solutions to many problems. You think Thordak is the only solution to yours? This staff was birthed from the head of Melora. The same goddess who gave you that curse. What if you wanted me instead? Me and this staff. Maybe I can help you more than Thordak can.
Are you saying you understand the way to remove this? That you know the secret to burning this wretched disease from my form?
I'm saying I might be your best chance at salvation. And I'm pretty sure this staff is the closest living relic that we have in existence to the god who granted you your curse. Thordak is no god. That was your first stupid mistake.
All right, we're running ads soon. The lore was that he swallowed the last druid that had the staff. Yeah, it was a dude that sounds super cool. And he swallowed. It was like Scarin Wave Crasher or something like that. I definitely got that entirely wrong, but it was close to that. Cabal's no, not Cabal's Ruin. Spire of Conflux. Joran, probably the Sea Speaker, hero of the Verdant Expanse. About 400 years ago, about 4 centuries back. Oh, right. I forgot. Jorn went into the Abyss about 400 years ago, which is very similar to the time given for when Devosa repelled and killed Thordak. Yeah, in Marquette. I forgot about that. What's up? I'm always so impressed by the world building Xandria and Mega's notes to keep up with it. Look, I gotta have notes. I would not be able to keep up with it otherwise. I think there's a really good shot. I mean, I do think it's impressive. Don't get me wrong. But also, to an extent, it is slowly becoming Matt's job. You know what I'm saying? I think it's, at this point, there's... Like, he's obviously still doing professional voice, or I guess I actually don't know at what point they kind of transitioned over to Critical Role being their full-time thing. I'm assuming it happens soon, if it hasn't already. And like even me, like at this point, D&D is slowly becoming my job as well. So it's like I doubt that there was this level or depth of world building in Exandria originally, you know? I think that the Underdark arc is probably more representative of what their game used to be. So not to say that that's like a bad thing in any way, but you know, an amount of like cutting yourself some slack. You know, you're not you don't have the same, not motivations, what's the word? Or consequences. I can't think of quite the right word. But you don't have the same amount of push that Matt does to world build. You know what I'm saying? Or even me. I tried out World Anvil today to try and get some sense into my campaign, but that is a confusing mess. The campaign or World Anvil? I can see either one. I love World Anvil. I love it so much, but it can be tough, especially if you're starting from a baseline where you already have, you know, a bunch of stuff and you're trying to kind of move it all over in. It can be tough. Keyleth is obsessed with trying to get the upper hand on Raishan. From that POV, I can see her trying to claim she's smarter or has the cure to what ails Raishan. Oh, absolutely. I can absolutely see... I can very much understand her trying to claim that the staff can do something that she has no idea if it can do. Absolutely. No, that seems totally reasonable, yeah. At this point, they've got to be a company formed with Critical Role Productions LLC as a multimedia incorporated in 2015. So they did it immediately. Yeah, I guess my question is, at what point did they kind of go full time on it? I don't know. It's tough to say. What's up, Confused Strawberry? Hello. World Anvil was confusing. My campaign has barely started. Fair enough. Hey, look, maybe I've unironically, or no, I shouldn't say unironically. That's I've genuinely considered doing a like World Anvil guide. In a similar way that I've thought about doing a Bitd thing, but how do I say it? Something that people could easily confuse with an ad. Like if I did an entire guide on like, here's how I use World Anvil, people would think that was an ad, and goddamn, if I'm doing an entire piece, it better be. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'd love to do that, but if I'm doing an entire piece on something like that, I'd kind of need it to be an ad because people would think it was no matter what. Yeah. But probably not their main jobs for a while. Yeah, true. Matt was Ganondorf in Totki. Laura was in a whole ass musical. Yeah. I mean, I do wonder like when it became the majority, but I doubt that there would be like a solid answer to that just like available online. They've probably answered it in an interview before, if I had to guess. Or if they haven't, I'm sure that they would vaguely know in their heads, but it was probably a pretty gradual transition throughout all of this. Yeah. Anyways.
I think if I might translate what my friend here is trying to relate.
If you fuck this up, Percy, I swear to God.
Is that perhaps when the dust has settled, your salvation may either be found in the withering corpse or cackling smile of a creature that you are subservient to, who will take great delight in your destruction. Or perhaps in those that you have aided who will feel grateful.
It's up to you, Raishan.
And I will advise her to take no revenge until all cards are on the table.
Good.
Clearly, you are the type of person who looks for answers in other people. You are clearly unaware of accepting any fault or any result of your actions. So why don't you start fresh? Do you really want Thordak to have another sway over you, another gift, another favor that he's given you, that he is going to hold over you for all of eternity? Do you really want that? You're stronger than that.
That's why we're working to watch him fall.
Are we?
If you need not my help, just let me know.
Oh no, Raishan. We don't need your help. Let me say that right now. This all just depends on what you want out of the end of the deal.
I wish to be given unfettered, unbothered, unwatched.
It's just DPS mains in general. I know this is a total fucking tangent, total interruption. I got paired the other day in Marvel Rivals Quick with 5 DPSs. 5 DPSs in quick play. And DPS mains, DPS stands for damage per second, but it's basically like people that focus on doing damage rather than like tanks or healers. I was playing Rocket and I got paired in with 5 other DPS mains, and I'm like, please, a tank, please. And one of them switches to Mr. Fantastic, who is a DPS still. And he was like, I'm a tank, don't worry about it. And then after the game, they blamed me. They were like, they all died, I think like 10 or 11 times, and I died 5 times. And I had most healing in match. And they were like, Rocket shouldn't die that much. He can avoid getting dove. And I was like, I want to rip my hair out. I want to... I'm going insane. Ay, 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 ay. Insane. That's why I'm worried about them talking about removing roll queue in Overwatch. I don't want to go back into solo healing on Mercy. Look, I'm fine with it normally. If they're all just like, nah, we're just gonna be 5 DPS, and, you know, if we lose, we lose. If they would not have blamed me in the slightest, I'm fine with that, you know? If they had just said, nah, we're rolling 5 DPS, we're not really trying to win, I would have gone to 6 DPS, and then we have a bad match, and then I queue for the next one. But it's just like the insanity of being like, you died half the amount of times, you were a solo healer, and it's your fault because you shouldn't have even died those 5 times. I'm going insane. Yeah. For my deal, my guy who plays Ranger Fighter in one campaign, Rogue, and the other's gonna leave soon. I'm sad because he's our most reliable DPS. Yeah. It's reliability is a huge factor. To put it more in D&D terms, like D&D is kind of strange because it doesn't have tank and support in the same way that like a MOBA does, like a hero shooter, or, you know, debatable whether or not Rivals can truly be considered a MOBA. But it doesn't have those roles in the same way as those other games. We've talked about like the lack of support, the tanking fallacy, but reliability is a huge factor in all of those games. Like in Marvel Rivals and Overwatch, and in D&D, I think there is definitely something to be said for reliability, you know, consistent damage versus something like burst, like a sorcerer. You know, a sorcerer is much more bursty, you might say. And having a reliable source of damage is, well, I won't say it always is super important in D&D. it should be. That's what I'll say, is it absolutely should be. And I think that if you are a DM, I think one of the beautiful things about D&D, let me just get on my soapbox really quick. One of the beautiful things about D&D is that you have an on-the-spot balancer that is both there to challenge, but also to reward players and player behavior and player comps. So it's like, if you have a reliable damage dealer, like a ranger fighter or a rogue, you should be putting in like a lot of small minions to be able to really reward that consistent damage, and like really, putting in maybe even surprise ambushes when the rest of the party is low on resources. The fighter never runs out of multi-attack. You know what I'm saying? And when you lose that, on one hand, those sorts of things now become a very legitimate challenge for the remaining party, and that can be played to great effect. Like, having that remaining party really feel that lack of consistency is absolutely important and can be used to really challenge them. But simultaneously, on the back end, you can kind of reduce the amount that you use it as a DM. Like the amount that you would have used those things when you had the reliable damage dealer, when you had the fighter, when you had the ranger, that should be reduced, but it should still be there to like highlight the absence. And that is truly one of the great things about D&D TTRPGs, is that you can take something that would be like a death sentence in a MOBA, in a video game. It's like, oh, you need to play with like a real comp. Like, you need to understand what you're doing. You can go whoops all clerics in D&D, and it can be fine. The DM is there to make sure that it is both challenging but also fair and doable. Now, DMs may be better or worse at doing that, but that is one of the great things about TTRPGs, is that they can, it kind of doesn't matter what your comp is, because the DM is always at least theoretically capable of presenting a challenge that works with whatever comp you have. Which is also why, like, I've never been a super like optimizer sort of person. But that's different strokes for different folks. If you have someone that is super optimized, that just gives the DM even more to work with when it comes to like knowing exactly what sort of challenges to give. People knock both those classes as not being optimized, but he honestly does better than the barbarians a lot of the time. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's having such consistent multi-attack and such consistent damage. It's sort of like I talk about sometimes with skill checks, of like, the more skill checks you ask for, the more often you are going to hit. Like, the more often you're going to tend towards that like middle point. And most enemies, most adversaries in D&D are not AC tanks. The vast majority of adversaries in D&D 5e design are health tanks, if we want to like make that sort of comparison. They are going to have generally lower ACs and generally higher health pools, because oh, son of a bitch, my XLR cable came out. That was weird. Anyways, that was very, very strange. What? Oh my god, I've totally lost my train of thought. Where was I? Oh, the ranger and fighter, right? Okay, so it's like if you're like, most enemies are going to be health tanks, not AC tanks, because AC determines whether or not you hit on a binary, and it's more fun to hit. It's less fun to miss. So fighters and rangers are going to deal, on average, more damage a lot of the time, because they are going to trend towards their midpoint. Like, as they have that multi-attack, they're going to be rolling more dice, so they're going to tend towards the average of the dice, which is 10.5 for a d20. And because of adversary design, because of how adversaries are designed, with having generally lower ACs, they're going to be hitting more, they're going to be dealing damage more, and because they are dealing more instances of lower damage, they are going to be overkilling less often. It is much more common for a rogue with sneak attack to overkill, and even a barbarian that is getting that consistent rage rider but has only 2 multi-attack, rather as opposed to the fighter's 4 multi-attack. They are going to be overkilling more often than the fighter. Then that's not even to consider that the barbarian is just generally not doing as much damage as a fighter. They have more tanking defensive features than the fighter. But yeah. So that lack of overkilling, that lack of essentially wasting damage, that's going to be less present with the fighters because they're hitting so much more consistently and so much more often. They're doing more individual instances of damage. So yeah. There's definitely less. How do I say it? I think there is less opportunity for optimization. I mean, Ranger's just tough, especially base 5e Ranger. They're just tough. They got a raw deal, because they have so little outside of Hunter's Mark, which is concentration. There's I will say not even that Ranger isn't optimized, but that unfortunately it does a lot of things that other classes do, just a little worse. But fighter is great. Fighter is going to be doing really consistent stuff, which is always valuable. But yeah. Anyways.
Control over the corpse upon his death, to extract the information I need. And then I will leave your very sphere of existence and understanding to the end of your days.
What happens if we say no to that?
Well, we'll find another way.
Spoiler alert, we're saying no to that.
Unfettered I'm fine with, it's just unwatched.
Then watch. Watch for all I care. It will be Greek to you anyway.
She's taken way too much. She doesn't get to leave without...
She's already left.
Yeah, I'll walk over around the table towards you soon, and I'll try and poke her in the shoulder. Him.
Just pass us the point.
This is the deal that we are offered. This is the deal that's on the table. We are in a tenuous position of power.
You can stop poking, Grant.
She's not here.
Crazy.
Give her one more good poke. Nope.
How do we get in contact with you when we know when we move and how? How do I?
Well, what is your next step of your journey?
That is the question. Now that everything's on the table. I'm sorry to shock everyone. I was hoping not to be the cause of it. I was hoping that it was time for everything to be on the table. But this is actually what we are dealing with. This is the complexity. This is the battlefield.
Right, so we have to rally our forces to us, and we have to do some really smart recon. Do we make her a part of that, or no?
No, the further we... honestly, the more distance that we keep, the better at this point.
Right.
I agree with that,
her?
actually.
Yes. She will probably even be, I imagine, in our way on occasion if we make our way to the...
But no one has any mistake. She's lying to our faces. She is not telling us what she wants or what she wants to do.
Assume what you
You have a
want.
whole plan. Shut the fuck up. You've been droning on for an hour. Shut the fuck up. You're not telling us what you want. You fucking shitbag. Fuck you.
Keep Grant company.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Sorry, I was meant to hide the chat. It's so funny, man.
Does anyone really believe that this is all going to be fixed if we work with her?
I say we take a recess, gather our thoughts. Raishan, my offer still stands. If you want to come and find me, I know you know how. Maybe we can commune with Melora together.
You cannot comprehend the magics that you even speak of. It's cute, though. Look, I agree. Distance is of aid to us at the moment. If anything, I should probably cut off the information of Orgul's fall. I should speak with the Cinder King and still establish my allegiance from his perspective.
Can you?
I think this is a pretty common player feeling. I've run into this multiple times with multiple sets of players at multiple tables, including me, myself. I've been the player. Where, like, the DM starts being pretty fucking transparent, but is trying to present honestly. Yeah. I think that there's or you're saying he's trying to present honesty, but he's not actually doing it. That's the player mentality. Yeah. The reputation of dragons and one's enemy is intense. It's hard to get past. Yes. I think that this is a good summation of the player mentality, where it's like, and I had this a lot in Blades in the Dark, because Blades in the Dark is all about like lies and deceits and backstabbing and criminals. And there is almost a like breaking point at a certain, I don't know exactly where it is. I'm still trying to figure it out as a DM. But there's a certain like breaking point when there is so much deception and so many lies that is similar to what I've talked about with the shapeshifters. Because really, like, what is shapeshifting if not, lying about the reality of your appearance? It's all lies. And there's a certain point where when lies are so prevalent, it doesn't matter when you start being honest. There's like an event horizon where once there has been so much consistent deception that the players just won't trust any level of honesty. They will just kind of assume that there is still lies, there is still deceptions. I think that they are just assuming that Raishan is lying about what she wants. Which, to be fair to them, I don't think that's that crazy of a thing to think, There's just this level where eventually it's hard to keep going. And it's hard to keep going not assuming that they're just lying to you about everything. Because they've lied to you about so much that it becomes like this kind of impossible game of where is the truth. Because the truth is so small compared to the lies that you might as well just assume that it's all lies. And if you happen to catch the truth in that, then whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the reasons that I really like highly... How do I say it? I don't like a villain whose whole thing is lying. Because then you can never really suss out anything about them. I mentioned it last stream, I think, or maybe the stream before that I watched a lot of I'm watching a lot of Full Metal Alchemist, and I really like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and one of the reasons that I like those two animes is because they're both very similar in one way, which is that their enemies, their adversaries, their villains, are heavily metaphorical, right? Heavily like there is obvious imagery. I mean, in Full Metal Alchemist, this isn't really a spoiler, but at least some of the villains are named after the 7 deadly sins. And so it's like, oh yeah, you meet a villain called greed or a villain called lust. you can pretty quickly get their shtick. And so it gives the players, like, even if the villains are constantly lying to them, are constantly deceiving them, when they have a kind of baseline of imagery outside of lies, it gives the players more to work with when it comes to discerning the truth from the lie. That's something that I really realized in Blades in the Dark, is that I have to give these adversaries and these adversarial factions some sort of characterization that is not just, I'll lie to your face. Because everyone will lie to your face. And if that's their only characterization, then the players basically can never work with them, or at least can never work with them in a way that does not lead to exactly what we're seeing here. You know what I'm saying? So you have to give them like some sort of baseline that is outside of just, again, lying to your face. And I think that Raishan is really missing that. The lying, deception, green dragon reputation is getting in the way of hearing that she's speaking honesty in this moment, save for the for some time stretching of the truth. Yeah, and I mean, all we know about Raishan, other than the lying part, is that she will do anything to cure herself. So the two things we know about her is that she lies a lot, and she's incredibly desperate and will do anything to save her own skin. Neither of those inspire a ton of honesty. Or inspire an assumption of honesty. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so like, I don't blame the players, and this is a tough thing. This is something that, again, I ran into very recently. I was running Blades in the Dark during the course of Critical Eyes. This is not a I don't think this is a this is not a easy to solve thing when you want someone to be very deceptive. But what I have learned is that you need to give them strong characterization beyond oh, what the fuck? Why did exclamation point commands just return exclamation point commands? I need to fix the command system, man. I need to fix it. I have not been focused on it. I'll work on trying to fix that, because I made some adjustments to it. Anyways, beyond all that, yeah, it's like the deceiver. I wrote, nah, you didn't break it. It's all good. But the deceiver needs to have some manner of characterization, some strong tentpole thing that the players can fall back on when trying to discern truth from lie. Even if it's not something as clear as, you know, the 7 deadly sins. Even if it's not something as clear as like lust or greed or whatever. There needs to be something like, oh, maybe Raishan has a fucking kid that like she really wants to protect. She has a hatchling. And her entire motivations around wanting to stick around center around not wanting to leave the hatchling alone. And that is maybe a weird thing amongst dragons. Maybe that like actually shows an amount of weakness. Maybe hatchlings are supposed to be fucking ejected from the nest after a week. But Raishan has been like really taking care of this hatchling in not discordance, but in what would you call it? In maybe surprise, or not surprise, but in an abnormal way for most dragons, which would then support some of her claims about being the one that put together the conclave. If they learn that she is willing to break dragon norms in order to care for this hatchling, then it makes her claims about putting the Chroma Conclave together much more believable. Like, you start to be able to pick apart some truths from some lies because you know a key thing about her personality other than the lying and the deception. So that's, again, you know, It's not easy. It's hard. But it's definitely something that I've realized if I'm going to have a very like lie intrigue sort of system, I need for there to be characterization outside of the lying. Yeah. Skeptics are always like, why did character X trust them and not realize they'd be betrayed? How dumb. But D&D shows that moving through the world assuming everyone lies makes frustrating stories. Precisely. It's why, like, I've been saying all of this like it's a problem, which I think it is, but I should straight out say that. If you are interacting with a character and you cannot trust that they're telling an honest truth at any point about anything, it just makes it frustrating. It is not good. Yeah. It just because it slows down play so much. Yeah. In Ep 70, we learned her name was the Diseased Deceiver, so they were trying to parse the truth from deceptions. Yeah, absolutely. But I think that is my ultimate problem here. Or I think that is the ultimate problem, is that she just is the deceiver. Now, she does have characterization outside of that in the diseased aspect of it, where, like, we know that she is out to heal herself. So I've been talking about all of this, again, as if it's, like, so bad, but I will say Matt gave her an amount of characterization outside of the lying, in that she is out to save her own skin, and you see the players continuing to come back to that, especially Taliesin and Marisha. Marisha is trying to work with Raishan under the pretense of, well, I know that she wants to heal herself. I know that she wants to be free of this disease. The problem is that the disease is set up to be like a soft magic, Thordak has the MacGuffin sort of disease. It's not something that they can actually interact with too much, unfortunately. But it is giving them an amount of something to base their mental processes around. And I think you see the players doing that. And then when Raishan herself shuts down the possibility of them like interacting with that, that's when you see Vax kind of not go off the wall, but like start to say like, well, okay, fuck it then. We can't interact with that, so maybe go fuck yourself. Who cares then? I don't need to talk to you. Yeah. So it's tough. It's not, like I said, not easy. In this case, they have every reason to be skeptical. Yeah. You're watching the original anime FMA or FMA Brotherhood? FMA Brotherhood. I will say, yeah. I'm not watching the original. I will probably at some point, but I looked it up and I know that Brotherhood is like more faithful to the manga. But I'll not the live action, right? The original anime FMA that like kind of goes off the story path. Yeah, I'll watch it at some point. But I'm currently rewatching Brotherhood with Paige. My name is Deception, fabled lie teller, and general evildoer. Trust me here. Yeah. Well, and I think that this is honestly, this is something to note more abstractly. I just talked about the 7 deadly sins, right? Lying is not one of the 7 deadly sins. It's against, one of the 10 commandments, if we're going back into like our, especially Western philosophical roots, it's a lot of Christianity. And lying is not one of the sins. You lie in order to accomplish one of the sins. You lie to feed your lust. You lie to accomplish your greed. You lie to justify your sloth. Lying is not really a character trait. Or it is a character trait, how much someone is willing to lie. But lying is in service of other things. In Raishan's case, it's lying in order to facilitate her healing, her healing miracle that she needs. But because they can't actually accomplish said healing miracle, that's hard to interact with. Yeah. There's a major NPC in BG3 that is in the same position as Raishan here, and I had a similar dilemma as Vox. Yeah. I think I know who you're talking about, and I think that is apt. Yep. Yeah. Speaking of FMA, I think they assume Raishan is Shao Tucker, not lying his goals or aspirations, but definitely hiding something. Yeah. They trusted Tucker, so I don't know about that. They trusted Tucker until it was revealed. Yeah. It's yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Cuz Tucker's whole thing wasn't it is lying about something. And I think we learn Shao Tucker's goals. Like we know why he lies pretty quick. It's essentially greed, right? And we don't really know like what is so fundamental to Raishan other than self-preservation. But that's so, how do I say it? Basic, I guess. It's so basic. Just like the sense of self-preservation, that it's not this like strong character tentpole to like hang your mental thoughts around. Because everyone wants to stay alive. That's not really unique. Now, Raishan is uniquely susceptible to death, but it's not even like she's chasing immortality. It's not like she has a fear of death, a la some characters in FMA. But it is that she is specifically just afraid of dying, which, like I said, or not even afraid of dying, but just that she is trying to preserve her own life. Again, not even like eternal life, which I guess we had that conversation about whether or not dragons are immortal. So I guess maybe there is that aspect of it, but yeah, I don't know. If there is a strong fear of death within Raishan, we don't really see a lot of it. She seems to have a lot of hatred and anger towards Thordak, but it's hard to tell if that's even genuine. Because the only thing we know about Raishan is that she does not want to die. That doesn't necessarily bespeak a lot of wrath and anger towards Thordak for going insane. Like it can. Like I can wrap my mind around it of like, oh yeah, she's mad at Thordak because he holds the key to her survival and he won't give it to her. It all tracks, but it's also not very... It's not a strong emotion, I guess. It doesn't feel like a strong emotional driver. It feels like an emotional driver that you could lie about. I think that's the ultimate problem. Is it feels like the anger could be manufactured because Thordak isn't even the one that cursed her. He just offered her salvation and then isn't really following through on it. Partially because he's insane. You know what I'm saying? So, like, her anger can work. It can be justified. But it also feels like something that could easily be fabricated. So it's tough. I think she doesn't have strong enough motivations to overcome the deceiver label. I think that's kind of the problem. Yeah. FMA has better animation in the first half and better, more intimate and thorough characterization overall in themes. Brotherhood has a deeper exploration of politics and is loyal to manga. Interesting. Okay. More bombastic, a lot of story threads, and characters are underbaked because of the scale. Interesting. Okay. I could see that. It certainly does have a wide scale. I mean, the entire, like, one of the seasons takes place over, I think, a single day. So I can definitely see that, yeah. The thing is, Raishan's motivation, she wants to cure her terminal illness, could be a good guy motivation if you ignore the genocide of the pirate people and the other atrocities. Well, and like that's the other part of it. Yes, you're absolutely right. Like curing a terminal illness could be a good guy motivation, which is one of the problems with or not problems, but one of the aspects of like an anti-hero. And like her claim is like her claim is, oh, I didn't want to genocide the pirate people. And like, you know, not Marisha, Keyleth is like, but you did it though. You're cool with that happening. And she kind of shrugs and is like, well, yeah, I'm trying to save my own life. I'm trying to save my own skin. It becomes a like good of the many versus good of the one sort of discussion. And it's tough because that motivation can be seen as good, but we also get the not prequel, but like the backstory that Raishan is super cool with, that like, yeah, I just like went to a temple and like murdered everyone. And like that was fine, you know, whatever. She doesn't really back down from that. So we know that she is evil. So it's, I don't know. It's tough. I think we need some extra characterization beyond self-preservation, amorality, and lying. Those are kind of the three things we have about Raishan, is just that she doesn't really care. She doesn't really care about human lives at all. I mean, she's a dragon. I think that kind of, within the D&D sphere, I think that kind of makes sense. So she's amoral. She has self-preservation, which is understandable, and she lies a lot. These two are kind of like just naturally justifiable facts of life. And so all that we have left is the lying, which I think is kind of the problem. What's FMA? FMA is Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist. It's an anime. It's very, very good. I liked it a lot. I'm in the minority opinion, but so many people talk about Brotherhood's a better adaptation. They forget the FMA original was getting like 95 positive when it came out. It was top of the list. Yeah, I mean, it seems I'm not interested in the live action version at all. I'm definitely interested in the other anime. But anyways,
Cut off that information. I would imagine that would be far too much.
Cut it off? No, but I can attempt to guide the Fury, if you will.
Will he know it was us?
Oh, I can guarantee it.
Can you keep him from attacking Whitestone?
For a time, maybe.
Can you guide his fury in a way that would be beneficial to the plan?
If I knew what the plan was, yeah.
Well, I think we were saying ideally if we could get him away.
I don't think we're going to be able to get him away, but...
We're going to do recon.
I thought you
Well,
were smart.
And we're going to send out word to gather our forces at where?
What if he knew where we were?
We don't know yet.
Let's find out. Let's pick a place.
What if you knew where we were? What if...
I will also say this is just this topic change. To just to point out, I don't even know that there's necessarily a lesson here other than that you train your players. I think there's a good example of training your players here in that their first instinct is get Thordak away from Iman. Because that's what they did with Umbrasyl, and it worked. Then that's what they did with Vorugal, and it worked. Now, that is totally fine. You can specifically mold those expectations as a DM if you want, and either subvert or lean into them. That could be an incredibly effective strategy for getting Thordak, and there could be a very explicit path. But when I was talking about, the Vorugal fight in like, what I viewed as maybe like not the correct solution or not a correct solution, just a solution with effort. This is one of the things that I wouldn't necessarily say is worrying, I suppose. But it's something to keep in mind. Like if I'm Matt, I've spent so long building up this, it seems like dungeon in Iman and this whole sequence in Iman. I don't want them to be focused on trying to get Thordak out of Iman. But their previous two dragon hunts have taught them that getting the dragon out of their lair is the way to handle it, or is a way to handle it that will work. So, like I said, it's more of a lesson just like you train your players in terms of what you allow, what works, when you fudge things in order to make their plan possibly successful. Like, I am of the opinion that Matt fudged the Vorugal fight a little bit so that they ended up winning. not necessarily in terms of dice rolls, but in terms of decision making on Vorugal's part. And when you do that, you are baking in the you are baking in like what works, and now they're going to take those lessons of what works into future encounters like this one. Now, Matt has dealt with this by just saying, like, by basically just presenting getting Vorugal out as not viable, essentially. Like, he's just said, you know, getting Vorugal out, or getting Thordak out of Amon is basically just not viable at all. So I think he is not sidestepping necessarily, but he's dealing with the fact that he trained them towards that angle. But it's still something that you will have to do with, and you're constantly training your players in certain ways.
We found a place. We pick our battleground. He discovers where we're hiding.
Raishan rats us out.
And Raishan discovers this information.
Certainly put you in the good graces of the Cinder King.
Raishan takes a moment and thinks.
You are searching for us right now, are you not?
I am indeed, but Thordak has been using us as the attack.
Yeah, he's not going to leave his nest.
So what if we kill you?
He's not going to leave his nest.
What do you mean?
Very.
How does Thordak know you're alive?
Because I check in every now and then and remind him.
What if he sends you out and
kill
he'll
us.
kill you?
And you
don't
never
check
come back.
in.
He'd be forced to have to be the one to lead the battlefield.
If he knew where you were headed.
You're a clever girl. I'm sure you can make a ruse to make you look convincingly dead.
You wouldn't even have to tell us where you were hiding. You could just hide. And we could ready ourselves.
That is an idea. Take your recess. I'll take mine. Maybe something to this plot.
And we can all assume that when we exit this room, that our tenuous alliance is still that, correct?
I would hope that there's no more errant blade pokery.
Now that I know your tricks.
We do it to everyone. Don't worry.
I actually do, now that I think about it.
That's not true.
We're also not alone here. Allura, how does this sit with you?
Allura, who's now kind of sitting right now, just listening to everything with her hands crossed, kind of shakes her head and goes, to be perfectly honest, this bothers me a great deal, but the fact that Whitestone still stands does speak volumes, at least.
It does.
With the cards being in our favor.
It's not the first devil I've made a deal with.
No.
Doesn't always turn out well, does it?
Doesn't always turn out terribly either.
Regardless, I have a lot to think about. As do we all. And Allura slowly turns her head and looks over, probably for the first time since she sat down, to the illusory Raishan's assumed form. Assume lives, then? Raishan. Indeed he does. Indeed he does. Allura, the head turns backwards.
Can I do an insight check?
Go for it.
Does she know if assume is up to something no good? 25, I think. Let me double check that. 25.
25? Okay. It's hard to read the demeanor of Raishan in general. It's this kind of middle ground of neutral expression with a half-cocked grin, and this information flows at this consistent rate of being just generally difficult to read. The beat of hesitation is meant for emphasis more than covering, if that makes any sense. So it seems to have an honesty to it, if you could read any honesty from Raishan.
Raishan, now that we know you're you, do you have to continue the ruse of being assumed? Or can you bring him here?
I can certainly bring him here if you like. However, he is doing quite a lot of good with the Clasp and Brahm and Topher underneath him on right now, and they've managed to save many lives and continue to do so.
Maybe you could just pop him over then, just for a little bit.
Well,
You're quite powerful.
what do you have need for Assume?
I want to hear what's going on with the Clasp. I want to see for myself that he's alive.
We're actually going to have to have a conversation with the class because we're going to purge the city once the dragon is gone.
Why don't you go see him yourself?
No, I like her idea. I want to see him here.
We feel a little better here. It would go a long way to earning
Well,
some
make your choice. Either I intercept
trust.
and begin to work towards Thordak's ruse and set a space that convinces him that perhaps I've fallen into your hands, or I go retrieve your friend from Imon. Not your errand boy, and we have limited time here.
Sure
Which is
you
more
are.
important?
You are our errand boy. We are your vessel to what it is you want.
Yeah,
so
you
get
need
busy
us.
and do it quickly. After all, you're very powerful, but that changes day by day, doesn't it?
So, Imon it is. Very well. Back in a day.
In a day.
We will start figuring out and discussing a place for the final battle. We will find a place that is advantageous. Your input, if you feel the urge to give it, was always welcome. At least to me.
It's going to be very difficult to pry the Cinder King from his nest.
Your supposed death will go far for that.
If anything, but I have no guarantees.
As long as everything is on the up and up, and as long as we do not catch you in a deep deceit,
Good luck with it.
we will make sure that the plan moves in the direction it is meant to.
One day, then.
One day.
And the image just
It's going to send a soon to us one
fades.
day.
Good con. Right, okay. So, Allura, just so it's clear, Seeker soon is Raishan.
And has been since Raishan's appearance in Whitestone.
And we didn't know until just 48 hours ago, tops?
Now, can we maybe make sure that everybody in the room is who they say they are?
Go stab everyone. Tracy. One at a time.
I feel it.
As you said, everyone kind of like pulls back from the table.
Don't worry.
I'm a dragon too. What?
Hi, Larkin. Larkin.
There he is.
I apologize. I didn't know what else to do.
You thought you were going to stab him.
Yes, you did. But
That was not a play.
Yeah, let's be real about it.
yeah, you shifted
tricks
gears
in this
very
room.
quickly
No
there,
tricks.
Percival.
I've told no lies in this room.
With
I tell that creature no lies. Ever. That is a green dragon. There is no tricking it, there's no deceiving it, there is just telling as much truth as you can get away with.
As you're talking, you feel a
different
tug
than
on your right arm. And you look over and you see Cassandra is going to come over your side and is like pulling on your sleeve with a very intense look in her eye. She goes, Percival, I can watch Whitestone. I can get the people fed. I can keep the people armed. I can organize the day-to-day. I can't keep it safe from that.
Which is why I would ask everyone
Percival.
to please not antagonize
Percival.
it.
I don't know what you've dragged us into in this, but I need you to pull us out of it. I can't do this.
I've moved the battle. That is the best that I know
How
how.
long have you known?
2 days.
Not long, Cassandra.
2 days.
Maybe 3.
We were forced.
The day before we left to kill the white dragon.
There's a time difference. I'll tell you.
And if we had told any of you, your life would have been at danger.
This was the best way I knew to keep her from destroying this city outright.
Things are
This was the
changing
best way I
quickly.
kept her from telling the red dragon where we are.
In the short term, it worked to our benefit. Now,
And
we
the
need to
longer
pick
that we can
pieces.
keep her a tenuous ally, the longer Whitestone will stand.
When she does come back with a soon, this plan that we started in on, it's a good one.
I think so.
We convince, well, we have Raishan convince Thordak that we're amassing forces in Kaimel or something. Thordak sends Raishan to get us. We kill Raishan. And then Thordak comes to check on her dead
Fingers
body.
crossed.
We send word of a dead dragon.
How can that plan fail?
I mean, I'm not the only one who thinks she's more dangerous than he is. at
Oh,
this
yes.
point. Yeah?
I think if we
Yeah,
give her
of
access to
course.
Thordak's body afterwards, we're asking for a lot.
Which
of
is why if
trouble.
Keyleth can figure out a way to cure her of this disease.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a fine line to walk, because definitely, like, absolutely, as a viewer, I'm like 1,000,000% with you, John, and as a DM, I'm like 1,000% with you. But it is tough. And I think that Matt can handle it well. Matt has, like, again, that good sense of dramatic timing. We saw them get dressed down in Iman about their kind of cavalier attitude towards laws. And it's really tough I mean, this is one of the, I don't want to say necessarily struggles, but this is one of the aspects of high level character and high level like campaign and character work, is that the players are so unbelievably powerful. They're just superheroes. And it kind of, when anyone that is normal but has an amount of like nominal power, an amount of like of authority, just like, from the people, it's a fine line to walk when it comes to not giving consequences to, but when it comes to like addressing the characters and what they've done wrong, especially if they may not necessarily view it as wrong, which I don't think Vox does here. It's tough. It's really tough because Cassandra is in charge insofar as Vox Machina allows her to be. If they wanted to take over Whitestone, it wouldn't be difficult at all. So it's like I would also love to see Cassandra give them a dressing down, but she almost needs like, and this is like possibly I think there's a few ways you can go with this. In a high magic scenario, I think that the symbols of office, so something that like gives the ruler of a location symbolic power, also give them literal power. Maybe not on the level of the characters, but at least enough to go maybe toe to toe with one of them. In a lower magic setting where you may not want the symbols of office to be, inherently magical, you also, I think you can play on their values, which requires your party to have values, I will say. But like when you dress them down, which again, I think they deserve in this case, you have to make really sure that you are hitting on the morals and the morality that they espouse. You need to draw on a level of hypocrisy. Because if it's just Cassandra's morals or Cassandra's ethics or values versus Vox's wins every time. What's up? Hello. Hi. How are we? Oh yeah. So what I was saying about Cassandra. Yeah, man. It's tough. It's very tough for like a non-powered person to contest a high-level party like this and to actually give them a dressing down that they take seriously. It's like why I think that they didn't take the dressing down from the Emperor too seriously, because they had already saved his ass twice. They felt like they had literal and metaphorical power over him. So I think if you're Cassandra, you have to like... And honestly, this is a card you can pull. They installed Cassandra as the ruler of this settlement. If she gives them a dressing down and they don't take it seriously, she can pull that card of like, you guys installed me to be the leader and then you're not respecting my authority. Do you want to play by different rules? I mean, you still have to kind of wrap it back around to the hypocrisy angle, I think. But it's a different road to take with it, certainly. I always thought them making her the leader was complete bungus. I mean, I think it is. And I honestly think that this situation goes as evidence for that. Like, I think that she is the de jure leader. She's technically in charge. They let her handle the accounting. But when it comes to actual, real, important decisions, Vox Machina is making them. Or they at least have exception from the law. At the very least, they are above the law. Which is something that, again, I think you could like spell out in their faces and make them accept. And, at best, you actually have like a moment of reflection for them. And like maybe it's actually like a impactful moment. Or you define part of their party morality. Like if you go to them and you say, as Cassandra, you are acting as if you are above the law. I'm the leader here. What the hell? And they say, yeah, we are above the law. You have a problem with that? I mean, it's probably not what you're trying to accomplish, but it does accomplish something. It makes them define parts of their morality that you can then utilize later in more dramatic scenes. You can have a villain speak that type of line back into their face and see if they still like it when the, funhouse mirror is put up to it. Cassandra asked him to clear the room safe for her and Percy, and Matt asked Taliesin permission to slap him in the face. For real, before my annoyance at Percy coming through. Your fan fiction about wanting to slap Percy. I get it. I feel you. Yeah. Oh, man. I'd complain if I lived there. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's also hard because, again, like, they are the de facto leaders because they freed them from the Briarwoods. So it's tough. It's tough. Has Percy already provided his explanation for why he did it? There was something about like a democracy, and he provided a brief explanation, I think, but nothing in detail, or that like really convinced me it was anything but lip service. There have been frequent times where I just don't believe the things that Percy says. Like right there. Everyone just said, like, I actually really liked that everyone in Vox Machina kind of, like, pushed back on Percy when they were all like, no, you wanted to stab him, right? And he was like, no, I was trying to figure out if it was an illusion. And they're like, no, you were ready to throw hands. Like, let's be serious for a second. And Talisin's only response is, I didn't lie. Which is not what they were saying, by the way. That's a non sequitur. He said, I did not lie to Raishan. Not, I'm not lying to you all right now. So, I don't know. I take it as a clear choice that Percy is a monarchist and aristocrat through and through, despite claiming to identify with the little people. Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah. It's both VM pushing Percy and the players poking Tal. Yeah, precisely. And I think it was, again, it kind of forced the character into a corner, and forced the character to define part of himself. Of them saying, like, you were willing to do that. And the character sequituring after that is like a defining moment. In the same way that if Cassandra dressed them down and said, do you think you're above the law? And they said yes. Again, maybe not what you were expecting, but it is forcing the party to define parts of itself, which you can then use later. Yeah. I think it's intentional RP from Tal when her... Oh, yeah. From Tal, I think they were just poking fun at Tal. And I absolutely think it could have been an RP. I think it definitely, or maybe not definitely, but I think it's very possible it was a very specific RP choice. But yeah. Confused, you and Mega are sending me. Just saving the day or being the strongest on a character sheet doesn't make you de facto rulers. It doesn't. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying they are the strongest and they are the de facto rulers. Like, they would have been the rulers of Whitestone if they had not installed Cassandra, and they continuously act above the law. They continuously send people to Whitestone without Cassandra's approval. We don't have a lot of we have evidence that Cassandra signed off on making Vex loyalty, but you know, there's not a lot of evidence that it was super premeditated. Like, I don't think that she wanted to install Vex. Percy gave a title in Whitestone. He is like he is actively appointing nobility with her approval. That's de facto rulership to me. She is as much of a ruler as the Queen in Great Britain. I would not say that she is. I say she's de jure at most. Ruling is making rules and handling treasury. Yeah. And they act as if the treasury is fully within their grasp. They add to the treasury and take out of it basically without her approval. I think that if she's around, they mention it to her. But like, and I think that this is what I would really say is like, I think the real question to answer, right? If it's like de jure versus de facto, right? They act as if they're above the law. They are above the law for all intents and purposes. Do you think if Vox Machina said to the people of Whitestone, we no longer trust Cassandra. We think that Cassandra is fucking you. Actually, let's say they don't even say that. Let's just say we don't like Cassandra anymore. We want to install a different ruler. And Cassandra says, me and Vox are having beef right now. I'm your ruler. Stand by me. Who do you think the people of Whitestone side with? I think the people of Whitestone side with Vox. I think that if they decided tomorrow that they wanted to depose Cassandra, I think they easily could. She rules as they let her rule. Feel a little close to reality broken chuckles here. At this point, democracies aren't a thing, autocracies are a thing. So Percy acting like this is on theme. Yeah, it's true. It's not like he's like being like totally crazy for the time. Yeah. Yeah. I will say they are the defensive Whitestone, so I will give them that. Yeah. Seriously, Mega, I don't actually think we know enough about Whitestone as a real group for that to be predictable. maybe if I had to bet, if someone made me bet on the outcome, I would feel incredibly comfortable with betting on Vox. Given that they also granted clemency to the Briarwood collaborators as well, and the people of Whitestone totally backed their decision. We did not hear Cassandra's opinion on that clemency at all. They were hailed as the heroes. They installed Cassandra. And I think that is maybe what I'll end on, because I think we might be starting to get a little bit repetitive. In the traditional way that historical monarchers ruled by the grace of God, right? God was the person that granted authority to monarchs in at least Western history. Cassandra rules through the power of Vox. Right, they appointed her, and she they are where she determines her essentially right to rule. Because beyond them, she was a collaborator. So they installed a collaborator. Hey, we can take the collaboration as neutral. She's part of the historical ruling family of the Durolos. Sure, she collaborated a little bit, but we'll call that a wash. Beyond that, she rules by the power of Vox Machina. So maybe you could say that she's the leader of Whitestone, but she is a leader who draws her authority from this group. So I guess it's maybe fair to say that they are not the ruler. They are not the rulers, but they are the people that deliver the right to rule. Which I guess is a distinction, but not a I don't think it's practically that much of a distinction. Yeah. I really don't think Matt has crafted Whitestone to try to be realistic to the level of actual governing. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that it's not that. I'm saying if you're I agree that Matt did not do that. And I am more commenting on the types of things that you have to consider if you don't do that, right? This all started from the idea of Cassandra dressing down Vox, right? Because Whitestone is not really crafted in such a way that because it is crafted in this way, I'm saying that it hurts Cassandra's ability to dress them down, right? They don't act as if it is a real governing body in a real place with governance, right? And so it's not within her power in terms of a narrative, in terms of the fiction and the story. It is not really within her power to admonish Vox. And we can say that it should be because she is technically the ruler. But you're right. It's not really set up in a way where her rule makes a ton of logistical and realistic sense. So my claim is that because not a lot of it makes a lot of sense, because it is not realistic, you can then not really use that as a reason to allow her to dress Vox down and for it to matter at all. It is much, much more pertinent that she is the sister of Percy than that she is the ruler of Whitestone when it comes to if she admonished Vox at all. Even in that scene that we just saw right there, she tugged on Percy's sleeve like a little sister, not as the ruler of a city-state. That's I think that's where I'm kind of going with this, because that's where we started with this conversation is it's awkward and it's hard for her to admonish them or to dress them down at all because her rule is not particularly supported. That's where I'm getting with it. Yeah. Yeah, Matt would side with them for campaign reasons. I agree that it doesn't really matter that she's the ruler as much as being a sister. Yeah. I think we're approaching the same page, just from kind of opposite sides of the book. Yeah. Tugging on the sleeve was tugging on the sleeve was very much so, yeah. When it comes down to it, she's too old for VM to murder Hope. Yeah, precisely.
It takes a big card off the table.
Got 24 hours.
I have ideas.
We have more than that because it's going to take quite a while. That's just how long it
What
takes to
if-
get a plan.
Question. What if we do actually just kill her?
Raishan?
When we fake that we're killing her, what if we kill her?
Just actually kill her.
She's going to be expecting that, and it will not work.
Yeah, she's super slippery. She just totally, like, evaded Percy's sneak stabby stab.
Is there
She
anyone
will
around
suspect
right
it,
now?
and it will not
Yeah.
work.
Oh yeah, no. Allura,
20,
Drake.
natural 20 for perception.
For perception?
Yeah, I said, is anyone around? And I rolled a 20.
You guys are still in the war room.
I know.
Yeah,
You
not
know what I'm
Raishan.
talking
Oh,
about,
of
though.
course.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh.
There it is, it's right there.
Right.
Yeah,
You don't-
invisible
you-
fucking lark and dwarf dragons.
You don't see anybody else around.
All right, that's a 20.
Here's what I'm. Here's
Should
what I'm-
we continue this conversation downstairs?
First, is everybody who they say they are? Please. if
Oh,
you-
yeah, look.
Let's just go
like
down-
your sage real quick and make sure everybody's on the up and up.
Allura,
That was
Allura
Gilmore
goes,
going to
well,
take
I mean, this makes sense. Assume is the one that requested we not move the war room down to the,
So why don't we move the war room now?
I think that would be the best, yes. Let us all adjourn to the new space at the ziggurat. That should at least keep things honest.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's the closest we
Picks her
have.
robes up and,
Grog, your beard might go away.
No.
I
No,
kind of.
it's really, it's in there. Just won't grow up.
I mean, for science, right? Let's go.
Did you have a beard?
You look really good without a beard, Grog. I've always thought so.
You shut up, you. Can we go down? I don't care.
Yeah, okay.
Let's go.
All right.
okay. You guys make your way down to the ziggurat. The guards come and start carrying chairs and other elements of the war room. Eventually, you're all led down to the tunnels, which have been a little more refined and given an actual, more comfortable path past the now defunct Whitestone refinery that the Briarwoods had originally established. You enter the ziggurat room. It's more has more lighting to it than it previously did. A number of torches now line the walls and sconces that are lit as the guards progress upward. You can see the reflection to the green glass-like Whitestone material that permeates the outside of the ziggurat. And partially up, not right by it, but partially upward, there's a small wooden platform that's kind of been where the main base operations for research and study is here. You see a number of desks set out. It's been built along the side of the large pyramid-type structure. And eventually you all adjourn up into that space. As you go up there, you all feel as you enter, a significant drop in enchantment. All of your magical items, everything just gradually fades in this space. So, Grog, you actually feel your musculature, the Titanstone gauntlets themselves, the effect begins to and then completely fade back to your classic Grog-like strength.
I feel totally fine.
Are the walls still like
Flesh?
people?
Oh, do you want to go to the top of the ziggurat and check?
Oh,
Oh, it's not
Not
like...
yet. After the meeting.
I figured they had like a cleanup crew down there. Is that still? Like, no, like,
It's a guy with like on a scaffold with a scrub brush just going ew, ew, ew,
They're really
Got a
cool
little
naked bodies now.
Brush cleaning out the fingernails. Yeah.
At this point, they're looking around. Everyone who
Well,
has
the
journeyed with you
yeah,
towards
many
this new meeting
paintings
place in
all
the ziggurat is of the same physicality they were at the meeting room. Any illusions would have been cast aside or dispelled at this point seem to not be present. So everyone is, by all intents and purposes, who they say they are.
Okay.
And this also means it would probably be impossible to scry in this room.
yes.
Whether or not. Yes, actually. Yes.
Excellent. This is where all talk must happen now.
Where it should have been happening.
So now you know what we've been dealing with for the past 72 hours. She did help with the death of that dragon. In fact, I doubt we would have survived without her aid. She could have very easily left us there to die.
It's true. She actually revealed her entire form during the battle. Which is quite diseased.
At least it appeared diseased.
She's definitely not as strong as the others, but far more clever.
And she knows where we are and what our plans are. And every inch of this place, including this thing.
Well then, what do you presume we do?
We don't really have a choice. We have to work with her to some extent. We can make it hard for her, and we can be assholes to her and go tell her to get assumed for us. But other than that, we have to work with her.
What's the benefit of working with her?
Because if we don't, she can destroy Whitestone whenever she feels like it.
What if we tell her we're going to fake her death and then we kill her for real?
That's
That's
what we
fine
always
if she
want
ever
to
gets
happen.
close enough for us to kill her.
She's not going to.
She evaded it really easy.
Why would she need to come face to face with us in that plan ever? She could say, I'm going to go meet them in Kymel. Oh, I died.
Our best bet is maybe, hopefully enough of us still have our strength, maybe at the end if she has been ravaged by the Red Dragon.
I agree.
Or maybe we
And then we
hope
try
and
to
we
defeat
wait.
her after that.
I agree. Our play is the finish line. That's it. Not
But
a
we
moment
have to
before.
beat her to it. If she gets a hold of that stone.
That's what she wants.
Our hope is to
Yes.
break the stone.
If we draw Thordak
can't
to
break
us,
the stone.
we can.
It's only because no one has.
If we draw Thordak to us, at least we control the battlefield. She
Yeah.
could still be lying in wait to pounce on his body the second
Right.
we kill it. But at least
We have to hope that she's actually going to fight with us. She's done it once. We don't know that she's going to do it again. We don't know.
They
She's-
mentioned moving the stone that shouldn't have been able to have been moved, correct?
Allura?
They moved it inside of Thordak, and then Thordak left with the stone in him, right?
Yes, which I don't think should have been possible.
Right. So how did they do it? Because I'm also looking at another thing that is supposedly immovable.
I know.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
Supposedly
Possibly.
immovable.
Nothing is
Supposedly.
Are you
Nothing's
suggesting we
impossible.
put the vortex of doom inside one of us?
Kind of, yeah.
We don't know
That's
how to
kind of
do
what I
it.
was
I was
suggesting.
thinking
Very
putting-
risky.
Allura immediately puts her hands up. No, no.
There's got to be a way to move it.
to do what
This,
with?
this is an absence of magic. It is a void of magic. It is a maw that devours magic. The enchantment we put within Thordak is pure magic.
And you've been working on it for months, and you are smarter than us.
Right.
Well,
Well,
No way to transport it. None at all.
It could be the only thing that could break the stone.
Think about it. If we
can
could get
bring
that
the
stone next to the vortex, we'd be fucked.
right. So what? We take a few wooden 2x4s and push it along?
Yeah.
But everything I know,
Architects.
everything I've studied, everything I've spent my entire life working for is useless. What near that?
Okay, this is legitimately me. Like, this is me just planning as a character. This is not me even doing like normal theorizing. If I was a character, it's like, okay, because Vox theorizes that the siphon might be the only way to destroy the Heartstone. If I'm a character, I hear that. And I say, well, if we can't move this siphon, and you kind of look around and you say, well, seems like we know how to make one. All we have to do is make one on top of Thordak. I think it sounds like a foolproof plan. Save for all of the people that ostensibly have to be sacrificed. But maybe they were just sacrificed to the siphon. We don't know that they had to, that they are what made the. I don't know.
It's a temple to Ioun, right?
It was.
The goddess of knowledge?
Sure.
The only person I know of who I believe worship Ion is Bron.
Brom.
Of the clasp? Wait.
What? Wait a second. Rom is the only person that Allura knows that properly worshipped Ioun. Brom Goldhand? I think he's an unimportant rando. Uh-oh. Maybe not so unimportant rando anymore. I also think he was seemingly dead. Maybe apparent allies? Brom Goldhand died during the fall of Amon, according to Gilmore, but this was seemingly contradicted by Raishan's claim that Brom Goldhand was planning something against Thordak with Seeker Assume, originally on the council. Interesting. I'm just gonna add it to his thing really quick. Ioun worshipper. Interesting. Well, what the fuck was he? He wasn't like their sneaky stealthy. He wasn't their wizard. Maybe he was like a sorcerer or a warlock. Worshipped the goddess of knowledge. Interesting little lore drop. Make a ziggurat and pile a bunch of bodies around it, and also ignore that Lady Briarwood wanted to wait until. Yeah. Ignore all that. Ignore all that. Okay, unironically, totally genuinely, my theory is that the siphon was not opened by all of those things. It is just that they opened the siphon and they needed to do all of those things at Winter's Crest. My current theory / understanding is that the reason that is that the siphon can just be opened up at like a place of power, and then you have to put stuff into the siphon. And that whatever they were wanting to do had to be on Winter's Crest because it was like an extra dimensional thing. That is my understanding. But I could be super duper wrong. Let's fight the ancient fire-breathing dragon in a room without magic. Is the fire breath not magic? My assumption was actually that the fire breath was magic. And I would also be assuming that if they took away all the magic, that Thordak would just die. My assumption was kind of that Thordak would just die. There was just going to be like a kill switch. Could also be wrong about that. Look, we're discussing, we're theorizing, we're planning. Feel like we should at least talk about it. That is also a decent argument against. I don't know. Like I said, this is not me even saying what they should do or what they shouldn't. But I will say that if I was in that room, I would be pitching this. Thank you. You're weekend at Birdie's idea. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I got chicken tenders for an early, I was about to say an early dinner. I guess it's more of a late lunch. Oh, man. Put things in, take things out. How does Mega do it on the BEG? BBG beat the Hokey Pokey.
Albert Bron, of the council with us.
And he is in Amon, potentially?
According to Raishan.
Brom was
Topher.
with Assume.
What holds it there? It's a shame we can't open just a giant door and push it down here.
What?
Like my mech idea. Fuck yeah, how does he do it? I told you all during the Briarwood arc that there was going to be a big-ass door that they would open to let the mech out. And or the railgun shot. I guess it's not how does he do it. It's more of a Mega is Taliesin, I suppose.
Did you just say?
We can't do it.
What? Say it again?
It's a shame we can't open a giant door and just push the dragon in here. We couldn't do it. It won't work. Because that side of the door won't open by its very nature. Mm-hmm. No door can be opened to this room. No one can get in or out without.
We couldn't have used the gate scroll in here.
Yeah. I'm trying to even conceive of a machine that could move this, but I don't understand why it's here in the first place.
I don't think the secret to defeating Thordak is moving this thing.
It's a shame we couldn't. How close? We have a line in the sand of how close we can get to this thing magically, correct?
This way.
You know something about
Which leads you back down the ziggurat, out to the entrance where you guys enter this large chamber, and I'd say 20 or so meters back into you can see there is a specific wooden support beam that is structured within this tunnel, and on that beam, elements of it are painted black. Which shows this is the perimeter in which the siphon devours magic inward.
What?
How big is it? How big is it, roughly?
What the
Perimeter?
I'd say, give or take a half mile.
Damn, it's really big.
What?
And it's encased in stone.
In stone.
Yeah? Kind of, right? Were we encased in white stone? Right?
I've got a terrible idea.
Tell me.
What? If it went on the end, what happens to magical creatures when they enter the circle? Have we experimented at all to find out what would happen to a magical creature? A creature whose very essence is magic.
I don't know.
Oh, there's no humane way to do this.
Sure
What are
there
you
is.
thinking?
Kiki, get a fake creature in here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Send them in.
Oh yeah, they died and they just kind of go right back to their plane.
No, I think they just die.
And even if they do go back to the plane, they may not be able to, and they may just wither and actually die. I just wanted to put
Are you
that on
trying
the
to
table.
make me feel better about
I'm just
doing
trying to. I don't want to lie to you about this. I've been practicing intense levels of honesty, if not telling the whole truth.
Sidebar, do we have all the messages that the Sphinx told us about?
No.
No.
What else is there?
There's one in the fire plane.
The Don Martyr.
Hey!
Pickle.
The Don Martyr.
What
the
does-
Don Martyr?
Yeah,
Don
Blaze
Martyr.
of Dawn was it?
I know I'm like the smartest one in the group, but we don't know what the fuck we're talking about with this little sphere. Why don't we go find that last vestige and see what it turns up?
I don't know if we have a lot of time.
We have time. In a day,
I mean, only if we...
In the day she returns, it will take us time to... We chose a place, we move our forces in there. We have days where she can be looking for us, and then when she disappears, it's going to take a day or two for him to really find out. It will be about 3 to 4 days before anything actually happens.
What are we doing going after this vestige when... Can any of us even use it?
Okay. Keep in mind. I'm not much for poetry, but it seems sort of poetic that Thordak came from the fireplane, and the last vestige we're looking for is in the fireplane.
Also, we might be able to find some information on
This is true.
the stone.
The fireplane isn't just like Dallas.
Is Dallas
like
not?
It actually is quite like Dallas. I think it's a very reasonable comparison.
It's a horrible place where we could all die.
Yes.
But so is the Feywild.
But we're risking our hides for something that might benefit one of us, maybe.
There's
Well, that's
also
what we've
all
all
of
been
my...
doing this entire time.
No,
There's also all of my
basically
people
all of
there.
our choices at
We
this
could,
point.
we could go in with the rest of the fire shite that are there. We can meet up with Sarkonis. The only other... is the whole ziggurat encased in white stone?
Ziggurat itself is it's built from stone, and then the upper exterior of it is covered in this green glass-like substance that is distilled white stone residual.
I have a plan. It would take a little bit of time, but it's vicious.
What?
Probably wouldn't work. Well, let's find out what happens to a creature inside here before we
Like a
do
regular
anything.
creature of the
Okay, I
Feywild.
actually do
Like a
have
magic-
conjure woodland beings.
That's not a magic creature, though. That's a woodland being.
No, woodland beings can be like fey creatures.
Really?
Something small.
Do it.
Just a fairy.
Oh my
Just a
god,
teeny
do
little
it.
fairy.
Okay,
What level's that? That is
3rd level.
Wait, if you like conjure them outside and walk in, is it gonna go pff, and disappear?
Potentially.
4th level, you mean?
Sorry, 4th level.
Yeah, and you can create some fey creatures. Yeah. What do you summon?
What's like what makes sense?
We're on one side of the
What's
line,
gonna
just send it
squeal?
to the other, see what happens.
I'll
Dude, great question. Oh my God. I think that there's like a hesitancy sometimes to say that sort of thing to a DM because, you know, and as a DM, you don't want to like guide your players too much. You don't want to spoil anything or like, you know, again, lead them towards a solution that they might not have gotten to otherwise. And like as a DM, you can just choose not to answer that. Obviously, you can just be like, I'm not gonna tell you. But that kind of goes towards my whole assuming competency sort of ethos, I guess, where it's like Marisha may not exactly know what makes sense, like Marisha Ray as a person, but it's very reasonable, I think, to assume that to assume that Keyleth would know. And so just asking the DM like what would make sense, I think is a super nice, reasonable question that should be asked more often in these sorts of situations.
summon a
Oh, pixie.
little
a pop star.
little pixie.
Oh, I'm so
A
sorry.
little pixie.
Little pixie.
A little
Just a
pixie.
little
there.
pixie.
Hello, pixie.
Hey, little pixie.
This may be, by the way, how we deal with Raishan.
Okay.
What?
So you conjure a pixie?
Got a plan.
Sure, and I send her in.
Pixie flies in. Continues to fly in. Nothing happens.
Pixie's fine.
Pixie seems fine.
Pixie's
go.
not a magical creature, I guess.
Isn't it though?
Has magic, maybe. Isn't a magical being.
Can you make the pixie do something? Try and have the pixie do something magical.
Yeah, I have them. Can't they cast like confusion or something like that? What can they cast? They can cast something.
Polymorph.
Do we have like fairy
They can
dust or
cast
something?
confusion, they can cast polymorph, they can cast things like that. Yes.
To try and hey, try and polymorph me.
The pixie turns around and nothing happens.
Nothing.
Pixie looks confused.
What? Sorry.
It's all right. You did very well.
Touch the orb.
How do you feel? Do you
Yeah.
feel all right? Do you feel...
Technically, this pixie.
Touch it.
We'll say for the purposes of this, sure. You there is very basic communication here. The pixie is.
Tinkerbell.
Yeah, it's Sylvan is the language that it speaks. So it's you can it is close enough to Elvish that those who speak
I know
Elvish
Sylvan.
can like interpret elements of it.
I know Sylvan. So I,
yeah, you understand.
hey, how you feel?
A little queasy, that's all.
Queasy? Yeah.
It's weird.
Hey, will you do me a favor and don't hold it? Hold it against me.
Just do it.
Let it leave.
Just do it.
We go touch that black orb.
Don't touch. No, don't do that.
Yeah, go touch
Yeah,
it.
go do it.
She meant what she said.
Go do
No.
it.
I mean, she's not listening to her, so
God.
it's
Yeah, it doesn't matter what person.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, go
Do
on.
it. Fucking do it.
why would you do
It goes
that?
to the other world.
Do you speak
Okay.
Sylvan?
I don't know where it goes.
That's right. I don't know.
No, you know what she's talking about. It's Esperanto.
You don't speak Sylvan.
I've already done my dumb stuff for the day.
Step.
all right. So yeah,
It's so bad.
you float. You continue to walk as the pixie floats up towards the top of the ziggurat. You get to the top and you notice that all the bodies have been removed. It's been cleaned up.
It's just an empty pyramid thing now.
Yeah, it's just this, like upper platform now with the walls that kind of encased almost like a small coliseum.
I'm imagining.
And there it is, the general spinning black marble. The pixie approaches and like.
You got this.
Touches it and you watch the pixie just go, and it's gone.
Still as we expected. Yeah.
Well, hold on.
Well.
Wait. Wait. Wait.
Wait.
That picture's
All right,
got,
Oh, she's coming back. Yeah.
he's got interstellar.
Yeah.
Hey, Alora, how many things did you throw in the orb?
You see her kind of in the back, kind of leaning against the wall, like she's seen this 100 times. Like, oh, many things. Chairs, outfits, pieces of stone, metals. We've put all kinds of things
Any
in.
animals?
Anything alive?
No, nothing living.
What was the biggest thing you put in there?
Your desk chair. Cassandra said it would be all right.
Yes.
Have you put a box around it? Just encapsulated it completely?
We tried, and upon moving it, once it contacted, it did not move with the box. It just crushed and
Makes sense.
absorbed the box itself.
So, I have an interesting request, which may end up being too complicated, I'm not sure.
Probably.
Nah, be good.
Can we build a teleportation sigil directly above it? Outside of its range?
Given the better part of a year, yeah.
We worth a thought.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Can we build
Over time,
one
yeah.
in the hallway leading to this room?
A temporary one, as in like a
Like a spell.
like a brief spell. Yes, I can do that now. It's the permanent installation of one takes an exorbitant period of time.
As long as we can remember what point at which, as long as we have some way of knowing what point at which we can re-enter this room, then we at least have a way of having it chase us into its range.
Oh man.
Or better still, if we run one way and it runs the other.
Have you been in contact? Have you attempted to scry or do a locate object spell on anything that you've thrown in?
Yes, but unfortunately, there's been no way of connecting anything that goes through. It just vanishes.
I think that's a fucking terrible idea.
Yeah, fire plane.
It's a good last.
Plane.
It's a
I mean,
terrible
last-ditch
idea.
effort.
Plane.
What are you talking about? We can't lure a dragon into a teleportation circle big enough to get a dragon through and then somehow assume that the dragon's going to keep running into the room with no magic? And then what are we also going to assume? That it's not going to jump into the crazy Vecna circle and become a 9th level of hell after that? We have no idea. That's a terrible idea. I'm vetoing it.
I've heard that.
The serial shiller has a point.
That idea is not great.
You've been waiting to find a time to say
I
it,
don't
haven't
understand the
you?
joke. I don't understand the joke.
Just quickly got the man.
All right.
Yes, Grog, you have a point. Fire plane.
Fire plane.
All right.
If we are going to do the fire plane, if that is going to happen, then we cannot go until preparations start getting made for the place at which we're going to.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. And I was already shaking my head of like, I don't think they understand how teleportation circle works. I don't. There was already so many parts of the plan that didn't quite like make like D&D mechanical sense. And then Sam very appropriately just broke down like, hey, doesn't even matter the mechanics. Fucking this is a stupid plan regardless. I like Grog's third that instead of second. That's subtle. He flies under the radar. That's why Travis Willingham is a national treasure.
Have this confrontation. We need to pick a point, preferably far from here. Is there a ruined city? Is there?
What, for us to lure Raishan /
What
Thordax?
about Fort Daxio?
Fort Daxio's near Iman.
Near enough.
And so is
It's north of
Kaimal.
Iman. Kaimal's east of it.
About
The
the
Iron
same
Sea Ridge, yeah. But Kaimal's filled with civilians.
Fort Daxio has an army gathering there already, right?
Well, Fort Daxio has a piece of an army. Most of it went to Singorn, and we haven't heard since.
Fort Daxio at least does have soldiers already.
Singorn is gathering their forces as well.
Yes.
Have you reached out to Singorn? Let them know this was going to happen. You mentioned that they were coming to Ally.
Yeah.
We have.
We need to reach out to the resources we have and call them in.
Yes.
Yes.
Everyone, I think is Fort Daxio where this confrontation is going to happen.
As in
We
we're trying
haven't
to-
been to Fort Daxio.
We should probably go check it out. But everyone wants to go to the fire plane, get some armor.
We go to Fort Daxio to start everything up. While they prepare, we can maybe make a trip to the fire plane while things are prepared. They will not need us to organize the armies and gather forces.
It's really frustrating. I feel like we have all the pieces here
No.
figured
no,
out,
no.
and we just can't.
We have
figure
all the
it out.
pieces buried underneath every civilian.
Have you thrown any? I'm really obsessed with this cigar thing. Have you thrown any whitestone into this?
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm sure they already have.
We have.
You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be fine, Keyleth. After we kill Thordak and Raishan becomes super powerful, Raishan will come here and get the Vecna orb and unleash all sorts of hells on the world, and then we'll know what it was.
I mean, that's basically what's going to happen.
That's a good
I really
plan.
think
That's a
what's
very
gonna
good
happen.
plan.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really do anything about it.
Which is why it's frustrating because I feel like we can beat her to the fucking punch.
Yeah, I think Thordak's kind of a fucking meathead, and we should just take care of
go
Raishan
do
ahead
it.
of time.
I am. You already know how I feel.
I think you're mad to think that we can do that. I think that you're mad to think that we're actually going to see her again before the final confrontation.
Yeah, we're not going to see her.
I think she's going to stay
No.
far, far away.
She knows.
I took
knows.
that shot specifically to see where she was sitting and see where we were sitting.
You took that shot specifically to stab her 3 times in the back.
If it had worked,
Percy.
it also worked that we found out she wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yes,
Not
revisionist
saying
history. Yes, yes.
I thought you were
understand.
practicing honesty.
That's like saying I fought because my stomach hurt and then I found out it stunk as well.
I was aware it could go horribly wrong. I was aware it could go horribly wrong, which was why I was prepared to say something.
There's a master plan, we understand.
But yes,
All right.
I'm not saying it was the best plan.
Cool. Fort Daxio then. Check it out.
Let's gather forces at Fort. Does anybody else have
We need to
anything to
go
say
there.
to this?
We basically don't have a plan. We're just going somewhere until we come up with a plan.
We're sending word out to
No,
all
the
of our
story
allies.
of
We're
our
preparing
entire
all of our forces at Fort Daxio.
Cassandra says, if If Fort Daxio is to be the place where this is to go down, then that will be the place we'll send our allies.
Okay.
Jesus, let's put all of our eggs in one basket.
Yeah,
why don't
what,
we?
what else are we saving them for? This is
This is the omelet. Like, where do we want our allies far away from,
You all
from
don't
the Red
feel
Dragon?
like we are stepping into every trap that Raishan is
What
laying?
else can we do?
Kill
You can't-
Raishan
you
first.
can't heal the disease. We can't control this hole.
It doesn't
There's nothing
matter.
else we can do.
We just need her to believe that
Let's
I
be
took care of
honest,
the disease.
Raishan wants Thordak dead.
Sure.
That's her endgame as well.
That's the only thing.
So
we
that's
can
why
control.
I'm
The
wondering,
only thing.
Are you
Because right now,
saying?
Raishan could have us all dead
Are
right
you
now.
saying you want Raishan to go with you one-on-one so you can do the Melora thing and then maybe you take her out and you want a shot at it before we try anything else? Because I'll grant you that.
I could try. That's what I was trying to bait her into.
You're not.
I mean-
She's not going to show up.
She's not debatable.
I'll just bring her, mate. I've done plenty of research on these, and I mean no offense to you, Keyleth, but you convincing an entity that exists on deception, through deception, to believe you in that regard, and based on that conversation, she already seems to see through that ruse.
Alora,
I would not recommend it.
Any chance with the gate spell?
No.
It's far beyond my
Far
capabilities.
beyond, yeah.
Yeah, rare spell that.
Yeah.
I'm not mad in thinking that trusting this creature
yeah,
is
that's right,
the
you're right.
only option available at this point. I say trust. Walking in this direction. This is the only direction available at the moment. Any attempt to counter her at this point leads to our destruction. She has us.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we got that. So does anybody want to do anything else before we go to Daxio?
The only thing else that we can do before we go to Daxio is to send word to our allies. I think we should grab Cash, send him out to
Oh
look
my
around.
god.
Quick list of who we need to
we
contact.
need to.
Ravenites. Feywild
Singorn.
wolves.
Singon.
Zara,
Singornese.
Cash,
Your people,
Kima,
Keyleth.
Alora, you.
Wolves are under the
Gilmore.
plane, Herd is
All of them.
wandering.
Jamon.
That's by flute.
Tootie Toot Toots, yes.
How, like that?
Wait, what about our Brotherhood of... What do we belong to? Not the clasp. The
Slayer's Take.
Slayer's Take. We can get them too, right?
No,
we have
right.
money. We can hire them. We have 100,000 gold.
You want to hire them to...
That's true.
We could take out a contract
That's
against a red
true.
dragon.
Sure.
That's true.
You can take it too. Well,
We can hire them to
Absolutely.
kill a red dragon.
Yeah. But we can do that money when we're dead. Nothing.
We are sending everyone we know into one centralized location.
Oh, dude, I'm a DM. My ears perk up. Holy shit! They're talking about hiring the Slayer's Take. I could make that exorbitant. The contract to kill Thordak, the Cinder King, the fucking Doom of Taldore, the Ender of Worlds. At least 50K. At least 50K. Come on. He's a generational villain. That's a great opportunity. That's a great opportunity. And it's also a great opportunity for me to try that, and maybe they just accept it, you know? Yeah, maybe the characters just accept it. Great gold sync. Awesome. Or they push back on it, and they, like, fucking flex the connection with, like, Osisa and, you know, the whole world, and then you get to have, like, a nice RP moment where they slowly convince the Slayer's Take to look outside of Vasselheim and, like, actually look at the whole world. Either way, you either get a great gold sync or a great RP segment, I think. I love that. I am encouraging that as Allura. If I'm Matt, Allura's like, yes, I think the Slayer's Take is a great idea.
location.
We'll be
Do we
there to
really
protect them.
feel like
There's
that's a
always
good
more
idea?
Yes,
Really?
this is what
Really?
we've built towards.
we're building a trap. Where would you put them?
We didn't talk about throwing everyone we loved into the frying pan.
What do you
That was
think
not
that we
the
were
trap.
making allegiances for? Just to hang out with them?
It's not
we
that.
need them to
Ready?
fight and die for us.
No,
I'm down for the cause of the war, just not when it's a stupid fucking plan.
It's
We're
not.
gonna
We
be
don't
there
have a
too.
plan. We're just asking everyone to meet in one location.
Well, we're talking about building an army.
and then
kill-
doing what with them?
To kill the general.
And then doing what? They're just going to be sitting there. They're
We're
going
going
to be sitting ducks.
They're not going to be
People
sitting there. We're going
will
to
die.
make tactical decisions about where to place everyone in and around the fort. When
I've
the dragon appears.
accepted that people are going to die.
Yes.
I've accepted that. I do not condone sending people to their slaughter when we don't have a goddamn plan.
We'll
What's
make a
your
plan.
counter proposal? Because I feel like we're making a plan.
I just don't think that it's smart to put every potential ally we know in one spot. Can we not divide it up? Can we not
We'll leave Gilmore here.
find places nearby?
Well, they will be. They won't all just be in the
They're not
fort.
gonna be
We're
sitting in the same
everyone is going to be
place.
placed.
Once
and
we get there and survey the area, we can come up with a comfortable
Yes, it's
plan.
not
You can
just-
make some caverns for them to hide in.
We gotta have a
We're
couple.
going to also create ways of making sure the dragon can't take flight. We're going to make sure that everyone has a purpose and a place. It will not be just a giant swath of people ready to die. It will
We're
be-
just getting them in the right county.
We just need everybody in the city.
But we also know that Raishan knows everything that we're going to do.
Not right now.
She
We're
doesn't know Fort
speaking in a
Daxio.
room
She
that
doesn't know any of
doesn't
that.
exist.
She doesn't know Fort Daxio, and
she's
honestly,
not
she's
here.
She doesn't know
going
about
to have to
Monster
know.
Ord.
She's going to have to send them. There's just nothing we can do about
I
it.
don't trust that she.
Yeah, it's tough. There's definitely a barrier here for the RP. I agree. And also, like, all of them, even all of their characters aren't necessarily generals. I do feel like there is a lesson here in offering a counter proposal. And I think that, like, you know, Taliesin eventually gets there with Percy of, like, what would you rather do? And then I think they, kind of immediately argue over her. Which could be RP, could be whatever, but I think there is a lesson in planning and a lesson in like it's kind of the it's like an improv lesson, right? There's yes and, there's no and, there's yes but, there's no but. She's not continuing the planning, right? She's not saying no and or no but. She is just saying no. So it's like I also feel her. Like I also think that at least the way that they're describing it, it does sound like not very well mitigated risk. But her not proposing a counter solution, even outside of the fiction, just in terms of the gameplay, is really tough for the other players. Like, she's not giving them something to move forward with. Like, if she had said, I don't want to do that Fort Daxio plan, I say we put half of them in Fort Daxio, half of them in Kymel, half of them, on the sea in a naval arrangement that we like, or like, half of them in the air or whatever. Like, you need to offer a counter proposal, not even from a like legitimate like interpersonal planning perspective, but from a D&D improv gameplay perspective. If you're just stopping the action, that is going to be frustrating. But if you propose a dumb alternative, that is something that the other players can work with. So if she proposed something totally ludicrous as a counter proposal, at least they could like find the common ground on like where they're diverging and come up with something in there. Yeah, it's tough.
She doesn't know anything. I'm going to assume that she knows everything.
That's a good assumption.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even so, there's nothing that she's not going to know because she is what is luring him out.
All the same.
And if we fought him here, she already knows where we are. Right now, she knows where we are. She knows everybody that's here.
I go behind Keelik and stab 3 times.
Is this happening? Are we doing this?
No.
So excited. Yeah.
I would so lose.
Bring it! She's on edge, all right?
We have to play this the way we have to play it. It's dangerous, but we have to assume that she will not, most likely not betray us till the end.
Right now, somewhere, there's a man on an airship going, do you see it yet?
They're keeping an eye out at this point, all right?
They're being good. We have to assume that she has not betrayed where we are yet, which would have been so simple. It would have been so simple just to raise this city to the ground.
Look at what we did with Ripley. We walked into every trap that she set with us blindly. We got cocky, we got bold. We fell for all of that.
We have to fight eventually.
I know.
We're not trying to be cocky about it. We're trying to set up an army.
Might I point out, Keelik, that Raishan wanted us to go to Iman and face Thordak, and we are already not following that plan.
This is true.
That is the other option, is to go there.
We can count on her to be duplicitous. We gather forces, we take out Thordak. We'll figure out how we're going to do it. We're not saying throw every spaghetti at the wall. We figure that out, and then we talk about the real enemy.
It's a fort. We prepare the fort. It is what a fort is for.
And if the
Makes
opportunity
sense.
arrives to take out Raishan, then we do it beforehand. If not, immediately after Thordak is dead.
I mean, we know we're walking into a
We could all be dead.
We could
Why are
all
we
be
not
dead,
dead
but
right?
at that
Why
point...
are we not dead right now? Explain to me why we are not dead right now.
I honestly don't know.
Because this fight is going to happen. That is why we are not dead right now. It's the only possible explanation that I can conceive of, is that this fight is inevitable. Once this fight has happened, oh, we're dead. After this fight, I have no doubt that we are in
After this
grave
fight, there won't be enough people to bring us back anymore.
This is everything.
But this first fight, is going to happen.
It's everything.
And we need our forces, and we need them prepared, and we need them not marching into a city. We need them in a city, holding siege, preparing to tackle, to grapple, and to subdue as best we can, to be difficult to find, to be surrounding. We need all of these things, and we cannot do any of these things unless we bring him to a place where all of our power is.
Let's go check out Fort Daxio.
Isn't it interesting that we all feel the need to convince her, no matter what? I'm just pointing that out.
Well, I don't know how we're going to get the king out of the castle, but, yeah.
We need to figure out if Fort Daxio is a place to send everyone,
Yeah, we've never
right?
even
We
been
gotta
there.
fucking check it
Let's
out.
just like put one foot in front of the other first, shall we?
All right, Daxio
Let's
first.
go buy some black powder.
How do we get there?
This
We
is
don't know
the
of
time.
any trees there. Can you...
No!
I can scribe.
Ironically, any town where you go to buy black powder, it's always him. It's really interesting. I don't know why.
And he's in
He's
16-bit
Thordak.
every
Yeah.
time.
Do we know anyone in Daxio? Can you scry there to find a tree?
I can scry there regardless and find a tree, yes.
Does the rest of the council approve of this ridiculous plan?
Yes, I approve.
It's nonce plan.
I mean, yes, I don't know anyone in Daxio at the moment. Riskel was the only one. Or Riskel was when I knew the connection there, and his father, Mikhail, is in Singorn.
Okay.
Do you think that they will be agreeable to this plan?
Who are those who are there, most likely. Yeah, I'll give you a written... And she pulls out...
Yeah. I can imagine that there was heat. And to an extent, like, I think a lot of it is role play, but I will say, as a general critique, like, I do think that the method of argument of just like shutting things down is not amazing player like behavior and strategy. Even if that is a flaw that you're going for on a character, I think that's number one, pretty hard to pull off. But number two needs to be a lot more obvious. There needs to be like some amount of like table talk or like agreement with a plan. Like you do it like once or twice and then go with the plan. So I think that the just like shutting down of a plan is like not the best player behavior. But I also do think that there's an amount of this possibly at the table where I don't think most of these people are like really 100% like, yes, this is the best plan. I think Taliesin might be. But I think that most of them kind of just want the planning to be over, which is another aspect of like why stonewalling can be pretty frustrating, is because if you are not putting up a counter proposal, a counter plan, then you are just prolonging the planning, which a lot of people, like Sarah pointed out, might not be enjoying. And I do think also this is where Matt could jump in with Allura. Like one of the benefits of Allura being there is that she can jump in to support or propose counter plans. The only thing that you really got to be careful about is proposing a counter plan that has not been brought up yet by one of the players. That's really dangerous territory. But like if Allura said, oh, I actually like the idea of splitting the forces. You know, there's these caverns that I know of nearby. We could have a token force, you know, in Daxio and the rest of them over here. We could split them 50-50. Like she could support the abstract of Keyleth's idea of saying like, yeah, Keyleth, I think there are ways to split up our forces and mitigate risk in case it's a trap. And I think Matt really could jump in there with Allura. Again, one of the benefits of having an NPC in the scene is that the DM can jump in. They just can't really provide new and novel ideas. Or if they do, you have to be careful about it because it's essentially a lore drop if they provide new and novel ideas. And if it's like purely a strategy thing, that can be seen as like leading the characters towards like the correct plan. You know, why not provide new and novel ideas? Because it might be seen as too much railroading. If Allura provides a new idea that they end up choosing and like it ends up really succeeding, that's where I think we get into railroading stuff. Please railroad out of this all. Yeah, and I mean that's, you know, I've said it before of I think every table has railroading in some places. I think Matt has a decent amount of railroading in his travel sequences. So every table is going to have differing tolerances for differing types of railroading. Yeah. Let's go find a military general to handle the army logistics of all these NPCs. That is something that could absolutely be a new and novel idea that Allura presents, is saying, well, there is a general, or like, Brom Goldhand was one of the generals here, or I have, there's some person on the Arcana Panasophical that could assist in this. They have experience leading armies. They could really, and I think you have to wrap it back to the player motivations or priorities and say, I think that they could really help mitigate risk. It sounds like that's what you want, Keyleth. It sounds like you are afraid of a trap. You want to mitigate risk. I know of someone that could help us position everyone at Fort Daxio in a way that will mitigate risk in case there is an ambush. Like, that's absolutely something. What the fuck? There's like a little speck on my teleprompter. Sorry. That's absolutely something that Allura could say here that I don't even think would be too far away from railroading, or would be too into railroading. But I think, just wrapping it back around to the players' ideas that have been vocalized and continuing those is an important part. Marisha is actually RPing Dr. Ripley and shooting down Via. Oh no! Also, I skipped ads. We're really close to the end. We're like 2 minutes off the end. It doesn't feel earned if the players go with the NPC's plan. Yeah. The NPC can provide supporting resources. And not only can, I think it's a missed opportunity, especially when you feel them spinning their wheels or getting into like argument zone. I think it's a missed opportunity to not utilize the NPC to support a plan. But it can, I think supporting a PC plan is still going to make it feel like, we found the right idea rather than the DM gave us the right idea. Yeah. It's only railroading when we don't like it. Yeah. How is the idea about a book going? A novel idea. Nice. Yeah. But yeah, it's tough. This isn't, I wouldn't even say analysis paralysis. I do think this is one of the, I'm trying to think if there's another time off the top of my head where I've thought that like I make comments, a lot sometimes about like being critical of certain player behaviors. This is the first time where I feel like Marisha's actually where I would be critical of her behavior in this one. I'm being very careful with that because I don't, you guys know where I stand. I've talked about it repeatedly about the over critique of Marisha specifically. But I do feel like this is one area where she might actually be exhibiting bad player behavior. I would say her RP is suboptimal, but not bad. I think I would lean into bad on this one just because of the stonewalling is bad from a moving forward perspective, from an improv, telling the story in an improvised manner. I think it is specifically hindering that aspect of D&D. It's not a invalid character choice, but I do think it hinders the specific storytelling of TTRPGs, unfortunately. Which, like I said, I'm trying to be very careful about it because I don't want to give certain types more ammo. But I still have to be honest about what I think.
Although, side score, perhaps, just scribbling a note says, this is a decree from the council. You'll have to listen to it. She finishes writing it, rolls it up. So, now at your disposal. It's not the army, it's the reserves, the rest are.
Any powers that you can think of. Let them know where we are heading. Do not let them know the plan, but let them know that If there are forces to gather, they are gathering in that direction.
And don't share our carefully crafted plan with anyone. The details are so precise and exact, you must keep them secret.
The more precise details you have in the war plans, the more things that will inevitably go wrong in the first 10 seconds.
Certainly.
Said the
Hey,
president.
how about we go to Daxio and then you guys can catch up with the
president of the
airship that
debate
arrives
club.
in the next couple of days.
We'll do that. And then we're meeting with Axio, correct?
Please.
Yeah. Taxio. Taxio.
Daxio. Daxio.
Very well. Axio it is. We'll see you soon.
On the morrow.
Tradition.
No, we plan.
Be pleased.
Tradition.
Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Good day.
Good day.
And with that, we'll finish tonight's session, picking up here for next week.
But
Finishing it now?
Man, well, yeah, it's like 10
What was under that blanket? Oh, such a dumb
I don't
fuck
know.
ending.
We'll find out, I guess.
I know, that was a fucking
Dumb fuck ending. Dirk. Great.
Sorry, guys.
I tried to stab a dragon.
Yeah.
I swear I tried.
No, we know you did.
I tried to end the game. I thought the game could totally have been ended right there.
Yep, you got that gunslinger sneak attack times 10 damage. That was a green dragon.
I did the math on what that could have done.
It could have been nasty.
Okay.
Had it been a less tricksy dragon, maybe.
It had been a less tricksy dragon. That would have been.
Oh man, that's okay. That is very, I think, specific evidence that it is Percy. It is Taliesin playing Percy's flaws there. Which, well, that's the answer. He did want to. Precisely. That's exactly what I'm saying. Which, I will say, this sort of over-the-table talk, I think Critical Role avoids it mid-session a lot, which I think is fair. Like, I think that this sort of over-the-table talk can take people out of scenes. But I really like the choice as Taliesin to immediately, when the session ends, be like, yeah, you guys are right. I definitely wanted to stab that dragon. It helps confirm what may or may not have been a roleplay choice of like Percy kind of being dodgy about whether or not he was actually trying to attack the dragon. Like, he was being a little dodgy about it. It's like, okay, maybe Taliesin is like, feels embarrassed about it and is like trying to play it off, etc., etc. I think that's a very nice moment. That is also that, like, you know, when we talk about like things that you can replicate or not at home tables, that's something that's so easy to replicate. It's just like after the session, if there was a potentially contentious moment where you were portraying a flaw and it might not have been clear to the other players if that was, you know, your character or your player, having that little comment afterwards of like, oh yeah, you guys were absolutely right. Like, I know that was that was all RP. I think those are great moments to have. Yeah. Which is why they started Talks Machina to include above the table talk. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's tough. It's tough. If only, well, I shouldn't even say that. Yeah, I was about to say like, oh, if only I'd started Critical Eyes a year or two earlier, but like the things happened no matter what. I would have just been ignorant to them at the time. So that's not something I should wish for. But yeah. It was a good idea. It's a really good idea to show that and like display that sort of stuff to the audience, I think. Probably did a lot of grounding for the series. Did a lot to help it be more understandable of like what was role play and what was not. Unfortunate. Yeah.
You got a little something right.
Not here or here.
It's
Yeah.
this right there. Just,
They don't even.
you got it.
You got it. You're good.
I can enjoy this for a little bit.
We should have Mike on the street take
Yeah.
notes on how long it takes
Just
to get
thinking.
arrested.
I'm going to a 7-Eleven right now and just
Put him on Melrose.
Like those YouTube videos
Yeah,
of social
yeah.
experiments.
Yeah.
Like, just send out mad, yeah.
The 2 cheeseburgers. Double fry.
Flame fish.
Oh, man. All right, we'll be back next week. Pick up
Hey,
whatever the hell your final plan is going to be
What the
for
fuck
this.
ever.
this is a great plan. I am behind this plan 100%. 20%.
I'm so excited.
Sit behind this plan, 100%.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
100% on this plan.
I'm excited for the countdown to Thordak that we are now embarking on.
Gee, Belize.
Maybe there'll be time to run to the fire plane really quick.
I was going to say, sorry for being a pain in the ass and being convinced there. It takes a lot for me to sacrifice all my people when like a fourth
No, we're
person
gonna
already
go to the fire
sacrificed.
plane and get them, and then we'll pick up an object, and then we'll fight a dragon. It'll be great.
It's cool. I have an internal timer, and if you don't meet it, I'm gonna kill all your people.
Don't.
You know, the glasses make that like weirdly threatening.
I love the glasses.
It's Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Heart Club, man.
New, it's
Natural born
Sundance.
killers.
Exactly. Well, cool, guys. Thanks so much. Everyone's awesome. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween!
Yeah,
Happy Halloween. You even heard a little bit of Marisha there, of being like, hey, sorry for being such a pain in the ass. You know, this is the RP reason. Yeah, I those sorts of small comments I think are really, really are strangely valuable at the table in a way that you might not necessarily think. Well, cool. Will I overtake Super Geek Mike? That is the question. What's Mike on? Did Mike just do 73? Or has he done 74 yet? I know that he was delaying. I think his next CRD, I saw like an announcement about it. I think it's coming out on Monday. So I don't know if I'll overtake him yet. I'm approaching it. We've been flirting with this line. It's a real will they, won't they sort of situation. I think the next one should be 74. Gotcha. I'm almost there. But we'll see. We'll see if I do. We'll see if I don't. Honestly, things are goddamn. Maybe after this upcoming week, they will slow down. Finally. We had to get a new dishwasher because the dishwasher broke and the hot water is working, but it's all sorts of messed up. And they had to, dude, I need to show you all at some point before they fix it. All of the exposed piping. I don't even want to say it looks bad. It does, but it looks bad because it looks so out of place. It looks so ludicrously out of place in our apartment. It's like we need to have like exposed brick on the wall and like the ducts, the fucking AC ducts need to be out. Like it looks so ridiculous with the rest of our apartment. So we've got like people coming over almost every day next week. And we're like maybe looking for another place, partially because of all this. So just lots of stupid IRL stuff that has been really hampering my productivity, which I'm not like a cult of productivity type of person. It's more just like I want to be doing more. I have more things that I like wanted to accomplish that I was really excited to accomplish. And there have just been a lot of unfortunate setbacks. Just because we're so fucking busy with shit that we shouldn't be busy with. That's the extra frustrating thing. Like if I was just busy with other things that were also valuable and like I wanted to be doing, that'd be one thing. But it's like just to like do all of this like gas piping, it's like every time they need to do something, they have to send 2 people out 2 separate times during these giant windows before anything can ever actually happen. Frustrating, but anyways, I will at least see you all on Wednesday, and maybe before then. It's possible. I wouldn't bet on it. We have, like I said, lots of IRL stuff. But I will, like I said, at least see you on Wednesday. So, goodbye, good luck, have a good day. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.